Hiya, folk. We are so glad you're joining us again, Chasing Foxfires. Before we begin, quick shout out to Syrinscape, this amazing online program that lets you manage soundtracks and sound effects. They've been an absolute lifesaver when we moved to the online D&D space with their online player, so definitely check them out at syrinscape.com.
So, the party has travelled through the Feywild for a few days now. After the initially somewhat unpleasant welcome, it's not actually been so bad. You met a water nymph who seemed curious but harmless, and after Reaver gave her an unexpected gift, she offered one to the party who needed it the most and gave them some form of boon in return. Traveling further, it became clearer to the party, outwith of Eridrin, who already knew this, that traveling through the Feywild is done more by intent and the ability to remain focused on that intent. So, when Finn tried to help by looking out for things that might be out to get them, the environment provided the party with something that might be out to get them. And
God damn it.
a creature by the name of Madame Wolka, and Eridrin immediately recognized her as some form of hag, although even for the hag, she seemed to be in possession of some strange powers. Despite knowing the dangers, both he and Finn agreed to play a game with her by drawing some cards from a mysterious deck that she had.
Had many things inside it.
Finn felt himself become equal parts a little bit stronger as well as a little bit less healthy. And in an attempt to escape whatever the next two cards that he had to draw had in store for him, he parted with something very dear to him. Eridrian was left with a strange sound in his ears, making him generally less focused and giving him somewhat of a debuff in his stats. Syrian tried to engage Madame Wolka in a game, which she initially found very uninteresting and turned away from, just in time to catch Daenerys snooping around the cart. At random, he had opened some doors and pulled out some captive pixies and a lyre of sorts. He managed to make off with the pixies, and the party left Madame Wolka and her cart behind. Overnight, however, Syrian revealed to have had a bigger plan and dreamt to Madame Wolka, offering her a dream for her victory. And surprised by this bold offer, the hag upped the stakes a little bit and asked for a secret in exchange for one item on her cart. Finally, you continued your travels. You encountered a group of Blinkduck puppies, and fortunately that encounter remained entirely friendly. And we left off as the party continues traveling. And as you do so, Nax, you start to feel a burning in your finger that has the ring on it that protects you from scrying.
There's something near me, or seeking me.
Well, I feel like I've forgotten what my accent is.
Not sure if I should be afraid or not.
I think historically, you don't need to worry about them tracking you whilst the ring is on. You can allow it, I think, but good news, they're failing right now.
I'll take your word for it. There's
You
some
use
mild
the ring
tingling.
Yeah.
There's a mild tingling, right? Just a bit warm.
Yeah, it's like it's like a slight burning sensation, but it's not painful in the sense that it's really, really bad. It's just annoying.
Kind of pins and needly.
Dead weird, like only running one finger under a hot tap.
Yeah, basically. Like a tap that's ever so slightly too hot. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but it doesn't cause you pain.
Are we wanting to stop and look and see if there's anything that'll approach us, or? Well, actually, I won't think that. But Reaver, can you see anything? You saw it the last time, didn't you?
I don't think we've had a long rest since the last time I used.
Didn't we?
You've had a long rest since Madame Walker.
Oh, have we?
Yeah.
Oh, have we?
Oh, in which case, cool.
Yes. I can't remember you having used it when you encountered the Blink Dogs.
No.
So you do.
Alright, I
have
thought we
pictures.
hadn't slept after Madame Walker.
You have, because Syrian dreamed Eder.
Oh, yeah. True. I'm an idiot. That's fine.
Mercer,
Yes.
I just realized. Can I roll for health?
Yes.
Man, look at me. Look, I get level
7.
30.
Here's the dice I
7?
placed earlier.
Nice. Go for it.
It's like a 1 to
Right.
me.
The 1 is also next to the 7, which makes it really confusing.
Mhm.
Then can you? Just before I forget.
And,
Sorry.
is it strange that we can be like they're tracking you even though you're here? Is that something that you could normally do? Sam, can you? Syrian, can you? Like wander into people's dreams that are not here, like.
No, it's a source of frustration that when I go to the place that is modelled on my dreams, I can't actually dream anyone who isn't already in there with me. I feel like the universe is playing a giant practical joke on me with that one. And I will have my vengeance.
No, I mean the one where you talk to people over long distances.
Can't cross the. I can't reach the material plane.
So is
I can't
this?
reach. Yeah.
So is this thing that's tracking Nax really bad then?
Don't know. I think some simpler spells can cross those boundaries, but you can do a lot with a little and a little with a lot. Some spells are specialized at special things. I don't know. I feel like it's the kind of thing that Nax should be saying right now.
Okay.
Just while Nax is having a tingling sensation, I'll cast protection from evil and good on him.
Okay, what
Which,
does it do again?
Protection against aberrations, celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, and undead
And possession.
for 10 minutes. It's just it's a temporary measure just for the moment.
Okay. When you say protection as in.
It's the protection grants several benefits. Creatures of those attack have disadvantage on attack rolls against target. The target can also be charmed, frightened, or possessed. If the target is already charmed, frightened, or possessed, it
Okay.
can immediately make the same throw against it.
Perfect, thank you.
No worries.
Yes, Syrian.
Can I do an Arcana check to actually to test my knowledge of scrying magics and the interconnectivity of planes?
You can certainly try.
Like,
However,
how-
do remember that up until very recently, planar travel and magic really, it's
Yeah.
not common knowledge, and for you guys, it's also still relatively new.
Yeah, I'm going for like an instinctive feel rather than like
Go
a
for it.
knowledge thing. So that was a 19, but turned out to be a 1. 6.
Oh. Okay. Planar magic? Who knows? Exactly.
It'd be whack, yo.
I mean, in your experience, most spells have limitations. As for scrying across the planes, you're not quite sure. It might also, like you very well said already, it might also depend on the level of the caster. You know for a fact that some magical items can change how a spell works, so...
Yeah, they could be using like focuses and shit. I don't know. Maybe they got really high as well. Like maybe that allowed them to go otherworldly with their scrying. Don't know shit.
Okay.
You have encouraged me to try a bunch of scientific experiments though.
Sweet. Great. So should we expect to have to fight another Shadow?
Well, it was made of wind.
Maybe. I can't.
It certainly wasn't made of anything, or was it invisible?
We fought so much random shit recently that it's all kind of blurring.
Shall we take bets on what it is?
The tingling in your fingers subsides.
Dead.
Nice.
That's what it will be.
So, do you have any like prior knowledge of anyone you've relatively pissed off, Nax? Like recently, or not recently?
Maybe.
Any of
Hard
them,
to know.
any of them like otherworldly casters that we need to worry about, or is that?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure someone sent me here, but I think I'm more pissed off with them than they would be with me. But maybe I've got that wrong.
What do you mean sent you here? I don't follow.
Well, I mean, I don't really remember very much before I met you lot, so...
Yeah, I have that effect on people.
How long is it you've all been traveling together before we met again?
Feels
Wow.
like a year and 2 months.
I'm pretty sure
It
we're out
really
on the
is.
sea for that fucking year.
A year and 2 months.
At a quick calculation, without thinking about it too hard, anywhere between half a year and 8 before Eredrin came in, around half a year probably.
BE before Oritrian.
Yeah, because we were out at sea for months, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
hmm
That sucked.
And then obviously the time in the maze. Ah, that was when Eredrin was there. So yeah, probably around half a year.
And I don't think we bathed once since then.
I have. Repeatedly.
I have.
You've been in the water a number of times.
I was in a pool like last 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
Okay,
We there was like the underground heated pool.
I'm not one to say that you're smelly. It's fine.
I bathed from the very first moment you laid eyes on me.
I mean, Daenerys, you live in a twig hut in between the houses. In terms of bathing schedules, I don't
You
want to
had a
say
lake.
keep glass houses throw stones if you live in a twig house, but like,
I mean,
it's
how
just
often did it rain?
I don't know. We weren't there for very long.
At this point, Reaver will do the kind of like subtle like, and then cast prestidigitation, like just clean himself off, just
Just in case.
in case.
Is that just masking it, or does it actually make you clean?
I think it burns
Oh.
away all the impurities. It's literally black fire.
I mean, it
Yeah.
removes the smell.
It also removes like
And dirt.
yeah, exactly.
It feels like you're just putting perfume on your smelliness.
No, watch. And then I drag my hand through some muck, and I just wipe it down Daenerys' face. And as I wipe it down Daenerys' face, I cast prestidigitation immediately to remove it. See, the muck goes away. It's not like a cover-up, it just gets rid of it. I don't know where it goes, mind you.
What
It's-
is it?
But I mean, you can make it return as easy as this.
Wait. Wait, hold up a sec. Does that mean that you can kill dirt?
Or move it. I don't know.
Are you sending it to death?
I don't know.
Have you ever cleaned something to death before? I want to say it. I don't actually care. I
Either way.
see,
Dice are being
but do not hear dice rolls, and it distresses
worse.
me the most.
I feel like
Am I
if I had a big enough mop, I probably could. But I don't know. Maybe.
I feel like you'd be proficient in mop-based combat, just given your experience with a trident on the side.
Maybe.
Next, rolling at a disadvantage. Does a 22 break your armor class?
Motherfucker.
Of course it breaks my armor class.
Ah.
What do you think I am? Wearing plate mail or something?
Okay. In that case, few things. First of all,
I was kidding about the shadow.
I wonder if
You
it's a
take
rhinoceros.
13 points of bludgeoning damage.
Oofed.
Do I still have my contingency engaged?
That was my second point. Yes, you do. So I'm pretty sure that goes off.
Yep.
Now, I believe you've got written down what exactly you had planned.
Oh no, not even percent.
Run away!
There were so many things to keep track of.
Yeah, no, there were lots of extra effects and stuff. I'm pretty sure I had it set off with what would you call it? Was it not storm thingy? Sorry, I'm scrolling through my spells and trying to remember the name of it now.
I'm pretty sure it was something that would get everything around you just in case something happened.
Yeah. Why can't I find it now?
Is it Storm Sphere?
Yes.
Friendly fire,
Yeah.
friendly fire.
Run away! Run away!
New shape spells that are cast through contingency.
I was just wondering about that as well.
Run away!
I mean, if I cast it when everyone was around me and shaped it then, because that's when it gets cast.
It's not you that's casting it anymore, is it? It's happening through another effect.
Basically what happens is we're not allowed to move from our exact rank and file marching order.
So,
Like Nax subcontracted his spell casting.
was it contingency?
No.
It was contingency and it was storm sphere.
Okay, let me know what
So-
happens.
Basically, a 20-foot radius sphere, whirling air springs in existence from me, tearing up the place. And when it appears, any creature that is within it must succeed on a strength saving throw or take 2d6 bludgeoning damage.
Okay.
It's difficult terrain, and if you end your turn in it, you also deal that.
That is. Could you roll damage for me, please?
I don't like how long it took you to roll saves. Like, it isn't like it long enough that it felt like saves rather than save.
Is that an 8?
8.
Okay. So. Okay. Then. You are quite lucky that there's a protection from good and evil.
Oh my.
Oh, really?
Does a 15 hit your AC?
No, thankfully.
Okay. And that is 122, but it was a natural 20, so again, let's be thankful for the disadvantage there.
How much?
So that is another 13 points of damage.
Sorry, what was the first one? I was distracted by actually looking up spells and I forgot I had the first damage.
That was also 13. I rolled the same damage number twice.
So, oh no,
Can I
that's
have
not healing,
initiative
wrong
rolls
box.
from everyone, please?
For a second, I thought you said 122 in terms of the damage that had just happened as an
Oh,
act.
no.
And I was
Nice.
so fucking like, what the fuck?
Let's just say Nax was so taken off guard by his contingent spell kicking into gear.
On top of your contingent spell kicking into gear, you rolled a d100.
Oh dear.
It is 12.
Okay. At random, can you just pick anyone in the party?
Oh god.
Vision.
Okay.
Oh no.
As your storm cloud goes off with this crackling, it takes effect as you get shanked in the back again. And you can hear the sound of something being hit by it. And Eridrian, as it goes off, you get hit with this magical force that absolutely oofs you in the stomach. And it just slows you down a little bit, and for the next minute, you have a -2 penalty to your AC.
Oh, man.
How much,
Shit,
Ryan?
okay.
I swear that was random. I rolled the dice and counted along the rows.
Yeah.
Okay, can I have initiative rolls, please?
20.
24. I rolled crit.
21.
Also 24.
Oh,
Fucking hell, guys.
okay. Who are the 24s?
Plus, Denarian.
Iridian and Denarian.
Okay.
The elves.
It's confusing because I don't have my own
Radiant.
name up on my board.
And-
And the name.
I know your name. That's fine. Don't worry.
But I don't.
Who else was above 20?
21.
21 for Finn. Syrian?
I just got 20, I was not above 20.
Still good.
We can't all be fast. It's fine.
Okay, 22,
You, 20 is
15.
amazing.
15.
Okay. Nax. You cut out when you said that for me, literally.
3.
Oh, okay.
Oh, God.
Like I say, Nax was completely caught off guard and surprised by his
Yeah,
contingent spell
clearly.
going off.
Let me get the battle cam on.
Ooh.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Give me a moment while I get it up to size. Oop, oop, oop. There we go.
That's what she said.
And is this visible for people?
That map looks really cool.
Yeah,
That is
Thanks.
gorgeous.
I don't see any enemies though, which is weird.
I know.
Fine. I just see flowers.
And I have got...
I hear northwest.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. And I'll take the cursor off the map.
I thought that was my mouse. It is my
There
mouse.
we go.
Ah, 2 cursors.
Okay.
Cursors.
Due to
Cursor
the
the cursor.
difficult, we're doing this on a camera for the moment. Eridrian at the very front, leading the way. We've got Syrian, who is wanting to help guide the path. Then there's Nax in the middle, currently having terrible back pain. I've got Finn there. Then Denarian and Greki. Reaver coming up for the back.
So you're telling me from the map positions here that Finn stabbed Nax in the back?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you.
So there's that black hexagon.
That one is Finn.
Oh, the black hexagon has been.
So,
Oh yeah.
Eridrian and Denarian, you are first to react. As far as you are aware, Nax just summoned this thunderous cloud around you. And he looks like he's in pain, but you see nothing.
It looks like he's in pain.
Yes.
Is it still there, the sphere?
Can I have a concentration check, Nax?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a 7.
7 total?
So. Oh yeah, no, sorry, mod. What is it, mod again?
Constitution.
Yeah.
Constitution.
Constitution.
And I want to say you took the Battlecaster feat, so you do have advantage on this one. I'm pretty sure.
Mm,
Did you not?
no, I took
No?
resilient
Ah, okay.
at some point. So yeah, it did give me a con boost 'cause I think I used it for con, but it still is 9. So.
Just not enough. The Storm Sphere flickers out.
Oh wait, sorry. Is it a con save actually?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, 15 then.
Oh, you're fine. Flickers for a moment.
So I was adding straight con. Yeah.
As you see him take a step as he's hit in the back, but it stays up. Eridrian Denarian, you're the first to react.
Just a normal. Are you okay, Nax?
Hey.
We've just
So
been
what?
attacked by a giant storm sphere, and I have suddenly become slow to react. I
I should have said the storm fear is like an alarm.
Oh, here, have a frog. I cast Healing Spirit. Only
Okay.
second level, because this isn't a particularly dangerous scenario. It's a mini storm. A frog jumps in you next. You get some amount of healing. That's my turn.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll continue looking for tea leaves, I guess.
How much
I'm
healing do I
weapons
get?
out, and I'd like to take a look around, please.
Can I have a perception check from you, Olivrian?
That is a crit fail.
Look around. It's the lovely, beautiful Feywild around you. Other than Nax going, oh, you see nothing out of the ordinary. Is there anything else you would like to do?
Just 3 points next.
Bonus action, I'm just gonna whisper Tatiana's name on my sword and activate the effect, just in case. That's my turn.
And you all see the leaves kind of from the floor coalesce, gather under the sword, and be drawn up around him in this maelstream of leaves that swirls around it. Okay. Finn.
Do I see anything that like so if all I've seen is Nax in pain, and lightning shooting out him essentially?
Considering you were directly behind him,
Yeah.
you would, with your passive perception, you would briefly have seen almost the indentation of where Nax is being hit. Very briefly.
In that case, I will bonus action Shield of Faith on Nax.
Okay.
So Nax, you now got a +2 to your AC. I will then, as an action, 'cause it's a cantrip, I will try and hit what just hit Nax with Booming Blade.
Okay, where are you going to hit?
So Nax is the yellow, and it's kind of like next. It's to the
Nax is
west
the red.
of me. Yeah, okay. Oh right.
So he's right in front of you. Nax, fire, red. Made sense.
Makes sense.
Burn.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are right behind him.
And you say I kind of saw the indentation of where he was stabbed.
Yes.
Is there anything like?
As far as you're aware, it could have come from this side. Probably.
And could I hold my melee spell attack until I have a little bit more conclusive evidence of where Nax was hit?
Absolutely.
Cool,
A
cool.
little bit more of a ripple in the air.
Yeah, like a ripple in the air, some dust moving on the ground, that kind of situation.
Absolutely. Noted, you are holding. Syrian.
You.
I say to Nax, piece of cake, we've done this once before. You got this, buddy. Knock him dead. And I inspire him. Then, as an action, and using my movement so that I can do this, I am going to walk where I am, booping everyone of the party as I cast invisibility at the 7th level. We are all invisible.
Big guns!
Oh shit.
Oh my god! Okay.
It worked
Oh,
last
yes.
time, or actually it didn't work last time, but you never know. If it didn't work, do it bigger.
So, where do you want to end up?
Next to Reaver.
Okay.
Actually, I think Greki is still visible. Because I can
What?
target. Okay, fine. Denirian is still visible.
Yeah, but
Greki is
that's fine. Yeah,
invisible.
yeah. Jeez. Nowadays.
So, Denirian, you see Syrian walk past, basically do the kind of, what's it called, peloton, tap, 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 and everyone just disappears. You're left alone.
You just hear a whisper. It was you and the dog.
That's not ominous at all.
Yeah.
Okay. So, everyone is invisible.
Assuming Mercer has enough circles for that, I am now concentrating on the spell.
Yeah. I may have
Everyone's
another
invisible.
concentration one. I don't think I have invisibility for the entire party.
Maybe something to consider. I get 8th level spells soon, and then Bracky can also be invisible.
Just remember it. Alright, we're missing Teledor again.
Are you sure you didn't cast banishment?
Well, while Daenerys watches the party disappear, Nax, while invisible, something is still going to try and hit you. It still has disadvantage because protection from good and evil is up,
And
And-
invisibility is up.
and your AC is higher. So, at a disadvantage, that is, the first one is an 11. The second one is a 15. You're so lucky I rolled 2 19s there. That disadvantage is helping you out so much. Then, that is a 12. Lowest is a 20, not natural. I presume that still hit,
Yes, correct.
despite all the buffs and whatnot. You take 17 points of damage from that one.
Sorry, who's being attacked here?
Max.
Axe.
Then a 14. And a 10. Wow.
Holy
So-
shit! How many-
While you're standing invisibly, you feel yourself being shanked right between the ribs in the back, and it hurts. But as it happens, you can just hear past you, you can hear the air. Finn, can I.
If he's,
Yes.
That,
I was gonna say, if he's just been attacked, does that give any indication of where the thing might be and trigger my ready to action?
I was going to say, I think you could make an educated guess at where it's
Sorry,
coming from.
can
Nice.
I react to it, please?
Yes, you can react.
I'm going to point and hellishly rebuke where the thing hit.
Oh,
Go for it. And that's a dex save, I believe, from it.
Is indeed.
As you react to Nax, I think you get 6 healing points from my healing spirit.
Ooh, bonus. Nice.
Why does that activate during their turn?
So it happens whenever somebody activates in the area of the healing spirit. So the reaction is an activation.
I think. So if it's taking an action, then a reaction is not an action.
That is. It'll happen in your turn.
So it's on your turn that you get the heals from it next.
Right.
Okay, they rolled a 15 on their dexterity save.
I don't think. Nope, that does not succeed. And I rolled 7 for damage of the fiery kind.
Noted. Finn, you saw like a ripple, almost a bit like a heat mirage that happens above the road in the air, and you can see the blood appear on Max's back somewhere from here.
right. Okay. And then it was enveloped in flames.
And then for a moment, it was enveloped in flames. Yes, so you can take your
Because-
reaction.
Because both Nax and the attacker are invisible, so does he see blood?
Good point.
A small spurt in the air.
Since it makes contact, since he's looking out for it, I'll give him the ripple in the air. Sure. You've got the disadvantage anyway.
So with my scimitar of smiting, that would be +8. So that is 18.
And an 18 hits.
Sweet. That triggers booming blade as well. Then. So that's the scimitar. It's. Oh, is it a fiend or undead?
It is not.
Always gotta try. Regular damage is 7 points of regular damage.
Okay.
And
Regular-
then regular magical.
But still, yeah, okay.
It's still yeah, all my stuff's magical, but it's just
Noted.
regular slashing damage.
Uh-huh.
And then that's 8 points of thunder damage,
Okay.
and the creature is coated in a shimmering field. That if that creature moves, it will take 3d8 thunder damage.
If it is coated in a shimmering field, that means you can see it.
Yeah.
It is right there. The purple.
Fucking awesome.
Nice.
Is that meant to be what it looks like, or is it just a random figure?
It is the best invisible figure that I have.
Okay.
Is it humanoid?
You see, the best way to describe it is an unstable humanoid shape. So it looks like it's shifting. It definitely has limbs and what looks like the outline of the head, but its form doesn't appear to be stable. It appears very airy, if you will. Okay. Is that your reaction, Finn and Nax?
Yes.
Yes.
Reaver.
I don't want to be that person, but I don't think you can see thunder damage.
Yeah, it's not. Well, it's not the damage that causes it. It's the spell Booming Blade.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I don't think it was like a visible...
No. Yeah, it's until it moves. When it moves, it'll take the damage, and then the field goes from.
Booming
yeah, but it's
blade.
not like booming energy or something like that.
I will look it up. While I
Then
look
comes
it up.
in booming energy until the start of your next turn. Oh. Ah, in that case, I'll leave it up to Marissa in terms of what that if that leaves any visual effect or not. Fair enough.
If it was lightning, I would have given it to you, but booming is more the sound effect rather than the visual effect.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Let's say that for
Still
a
got-
moment you all saw the outline as it contacted and impacted.
Yeah.
I am going to use my eyes are going to change, and I am going to use True Seeing.
Okay. Noting that the rest of the party doesn't see what Reaver sees, he goes back in the field. And this boy goes there. And this boy goes there.
Oh.
You see 3 figures. They're all very much the same kind of waving shape, vaguely humanoid. Their arms ending in these long blades.
Blade arms.
Very
Okay.
familiar.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Great. I am going to I'm going to move up. I'm going to run around and face. Who's the orange again? Is that Eridrian?
This one's Eridrian.
Yeah. So I'm going to run up to where Eridrian is, sort of like round the way.
Mm-hmm.
Looking around like I'm still like unaware, just in case these things can actually see us while we're invisible.
Okay.
And I want to be facing away
Okay.
from the bad guy.
Yep.
Cool. And I will end my turn there, because that's action and movement, and I don't have a bonus action that I can use per se, so that's me.
You're readying.
Yep.
Okay. Nax. You can see these 3 figures. Everyone except for Denarian is invisible.
You say I can or cannot
Cannot.
see these?
Negative. Only
Cannot.
Reaver can see them at the moment.
Right.
Am I still visible after attacking?
No. Well, did you cast invisibility or greater invisibility? It was greater, right? You are muted.
Rachel doesn't let you multi-target.
Oh, it's greater.
Okay, so
Nice.
just regular
Oh wait, no.
invisibility.
Oh, it's just
Yep.
just
One
regular
and done.
visibility.
You can see Finn. He is visible.
Okay. Does that mean me as well? Because I hellishly rebuked.
Yes, that would mean you as well.
Final invisibility, it's like...
Damn.
The thought's appreciated. I am going to use my bonus action to send a lightning bolt from the storm sphere at the space where I hellishly rebuked.
Okay.
Where's the damage for that? 4d6 lightning damage with an advantage on the attack roll if the target's in the sphere. So it's an attack roll.
Okay. If it's an attack roll, you would have had disadvantage because they are invisible, so it will just be a straight roll.
Okie doke. That is a 9 plus 11, so 20 to hit.
Definitely hits.
And then 4d6. And that's 10 damage.
Okay.
That was bonus action from that. And then I'm going to drop the storm sphere.
Okay.
And then I'm going to just let me check this I can do with this as I please. Yeah, cool. And I'm going to bring a sickening radiance into existence around me. So green smoke's going to start swirling around.
Oh dear.
And I will sculpt it around the 5 nearest party members to me. And I'll center it such that it doesn't quite get any party members that are far away from me.
Okay.
So it's
you'd be able
30-foot radius sphere.
You'd be able to sculpt it around everyone except for Sam, but you could place it with the center far enough away that you wouldn't get Sam. Yeah.
Like that.
Do you need to see us to sculpt it around us? Good question.
Very good question.
Or is it just intrinsically the power of friendship deep in
Yes. Other creatures that you can see.
Fuck.
In which case, so you can see Daenerys Finn.
In which case, I'll center on me and I'll sculpt it. Oh no, Sam's invisible anyway, so I'll sculpt around Daenerys and Finn then.
Okay.
This is unfortunate because it's going to ruin Syrian's spell as well. Whereas if I'd been able to sculpt it around them, it wouldn't. This was slightly poorly thought out, but oh well, it's
Still
happened
love
now.
it.
Learn
This
the
is
hard way.
party.
So,
So, what did I do?
not much until anyone starts their turn or moves into the area. In which
Okay.
case they take a con save, and they fail. They suffer 4d10 radiant and a level of exhaustion, and they start to glow green.
Amazing. And does this light makes it impossible for the creature to benefit from being invisible. So this most wonderful thing happens where Daenerys and Finn, the three of you being the only kind of corporeally there beings, you watch as this light spreads out from Nax, and in it you start seeing these silhouettes of your party members, of Greki, and of these 3 kind of moving shapes. And it just feels like a time bomb that is waiting for something to happen. Aridri and Daenerys, which one of you? Nax, is that your turn? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nax get healed by the spirit.
You would get
Oh,
healed
yeah.
by the spirit
6 points.
for 6 points.
Cool.
Aridri and Daenerys, which of you wants to act first?
Daenerys can go first.
Okay, so I can see all these people covered in green. Can I make out which ones are the non-shape of friend?
Yes, you can definitely see that your friends have more unmoving shapes, whereas these figures, it's like their arms, their skin, it's not tight, so to say. It's constantly like swirling and moving. There is one here, one there, and one there.
Not one of us. I am going to. What's the closest one to me?
That one would be the closest one. There's only one square between you and them.
Have I seen them actually attack us yet, though?
I mean, you've probably seen Nax taken.
Yeah, Nax is bleeding.
Yeah.
This is true. Okay, kill. I'm going to cast Hunter's Mark on it.
Okay.
My frog will disappear, so it's already used up its healing.
Okay.
And then I will move towards it and attack.
Okay. Go for it. Since no one is benefiting from invisibility, you will not be rolling at disadvantage.
Cool. Then does a 19 hit?
It definitely hits.
Cool. And my second attack for 28 to hit.
Yes.
Cool. So that does 11 points of damage and then 10 points of damage. So 21 in total, plus...
Are both of those magical?
Yes.
Okay. Plus
and an
Hunter's Mark.
additional 1 point from Hunter's Mark.
Okay. Noted. Is there anything else you would like to do with your turn?
Probably bonus action to... Oh no, bonus action is Hunter's Mark, so that's it.
Okay. Eridrian, as you start your turn in this greenish light, can I have a Constitution saving throw?
That's a 2 minus 1 is 1.
Buddy,
Okay. Next, can I please have 4d10 radiant damage from you?
Rough times.
D10. Ooh, it's not too bad. A 20.
Okay.
Ouch.
You also suffer 1 level of exhaustion, and you emit a dim greenish light in a 5-foot radius around you.
Good. Okay. I would like to use my bonus action to cast Shadow Blade,
Okay.
and then I would like to attack the one that is north of me.
That one.
Yes.
Go for it.
No. Directly north.
That one is Reaper. Are you sure you want to attack that one?
Oh, right. It looks like a wraith from the top. Yeah. I'll attack the one that's northwest, please.
Yes. He's still within 5 feet of you.
That is not your. Oh, fuck off. That is a 4 plus my thing, which is plus 9, so 13.
13 misses, unfortunately.
is it dark or dim light?
No, because someone just cast a light spell, so I would guess not.
Nope.
Of course.
Is there anything else you would like to do, Eridrian?
I would like to step out of the radiant light, please.
Okay.
Good plan.
So, centered on next. This is a 20 feet radius sphere, so it would be another... So, you would have to step to at least there. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. If it means that I
Okay.
don't take fucking radiation poisoning anymore.
Okay. Is that you?
I'm going to regret asking this. I don't provoke an opportunity attack, do I? Because I did just leave its melee range.
Interestingly, you feel like you turn around and definitely expose a weak spot much as you try not to. But it doesn't seem to be focusing on you.
Oh, thank goodness.
Okay,
Thank you.
you step out of the radioactive light.
Yeah.
You're no longer invisible. I mean, you
Alright.
already weren't because of the light, but you're no longer invisible because you took an action on top of that.
Oh, when did I take the radiant damage? Was that at the end of my turn or at the beginning?
At the beginning.
Okay, good. My Shadow Blade spell is concentration.
Noted, but you're out of it now.
Yeah.
So you're good for that. Finn, at the start of your turn, can I have...
Oh, dear.
No, you were not invisible. Never mind. You don't have to do it.
Okay.
Because she used Booming Blade.
Indeed.
You are
Indeed I
surrounded
did.
by this light, though. It's
Oh.
carefully shaped around you, leaving this like, almost weird patch of darkness that you're standing in, where Nexus sculpted the spell. What
Let's
would you
see.
like to do?
Surrounded am I? By enemies, you say? To shreds, you say? We're spirit guardians, perchance.
Oh my god.
That is concentration. You are
it is
concentrating
concentration.
on Nax,
Radiance.
Shield of Faith.
But spirit guardians, though.
I'm a healer, but
I know. Fuck, fair enough. Yeah, I find in that case, bonus action, I will spiritual weapon instead.
Okay.
Which I will do at 4th level, which
Okay.
means that it will be a 2d8 rather than a 1d8. And I'll cast that at the thing behind me to the south.
So there.
Yeah, actually, just between I'll cast it northeast of square.
There. no?
That one.
Sorry.
Sorry,
Down
north
for
one.
you. Yeah. There you go.
There, and I'll try and hit the unmentionable.
Go and hit the unmentionable.
That's an 11 plus a 10, 21.
That does hit.
Yeah. So that is 8 points of force damage.
Okay.
I will then use my action to double up with another booming blade.
Yeah, why
Cantrip.
not?
That is a 14 plus 8 maths.
Hit.
22?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that is with my scimitar smiting. It is. Okay, keep forgetting to do this. Okay, so that is 6 points of regular damage, regular magical slashing damage.
Yes.
Then 5 points of radiant damage because I have divine strike as a cleric that I always forget to do.
Yep.
And then it's 10 points of thunder damage.
Nice.
And that will be my turn.
As you, with this weirdly contrasting with the sickeningly green light, this white radiant light slash through this very incorporeal shape, and you feel barely any resistance as you slash through it. You do see its form starting to become almost a bit looser, like it's holding itself together a little bit less well.
Okay. Is there any way to superimpose myself between it and Nax?
It has
try and
very strategically put itself firmly next to
Aye.
Nax. You could try and use a shove action, but that would be an action.
With my strength? Nah, I'm good, thank you. That'll be my turn.
Sarion, can I have a Constitution saving throw?
No, unfortunately, I'm immune to this specific spell because I say so. It's an 11.
Can I have 4d10 points of radiant damage, please?
Why are you like this?
And you take 1 level of exhaustion.
Oh, how convenient.
Slightly worse off than Iridian with 21.
Okay, what would you like to do?
Well, first of all, tell me about the auric radius of this awful experience.
30 feet. So
And everyone.
I've got a 20 feet radius template. So where Eridrian stands is just out of it. It's got everything and everyone in it.
God.
That's rough. And this green thing is it's negating invisibility completely,
Yes.
essentially. Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So I want to go up to the dude that is not paying attention, is focusing entirely the purple invisible thing,
Mm-hmm.
the first one that was exposed, and I'm a soul suck it as my action.
Go for it.
That is an attack roll.
I believe so.
Sweet. I'm just trying to find on D&D Beyond. It's never been easier. Everything I have is a save. I do not have this custom cantrip loaded, so that's charisma plus something.
I definitely have shared it with you in Google Drive multiple times.
Yeah. No, I have it. It's just trying to get D&D Beyond to do the roll for me. That is charisma plus proficiency. It seems to be the same as a deception check. So how does it feel about 16?
A 16, you reach out for it, and you have the idea that you just touch it.
Amazing. Then it will take my cantrip damage of 3d6, which will be necrotic, which I shall roll manually for 10, and I believe if I have one level of exhaustion, it gains that level of exhaustion, and I lose it.
Nice.
This is correct.
Delicious. Okay, now
As you feel yourself being invigorated by it, and there's a strange feeling of sadness and entrapment that comes with it from this creature. What would you like to do with the rest of your turn?
That was my action. Yeah. First I'm gonna get out of the range of the death thing.
Okay. Having used 5 feet of movement, you can get out of it by using another 10. 15 feet of movement would put you out of it. You could go here in a direct line, more or less.
Perfect. Let's do that.
Right next to these massive trees with this huge fruit on it.
I suddenly remember that trauma exists.
So do I. I also suddenly remember that trauma exists. I don't have a giant...
Lion.
What?
Do we have a giant lion? I feel like we have a lion.
Do we have a... I'll double check.
I think we have
Trauma's
a lion.
a lion then?
What would you like trauma to do? It's under monstrosities, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Trauma is going to take some slashy slack. Well, first Trauma's going to make a dexterity saving throw. No, Constitution saving throw.
Constitution saving throw. Yes, perfect.
Trauma's stats. It's never been easier. All on one page. Trauma stats. Constitution. Saves. Not proficient. So that's +3. Base roll of 7. Okay, that's a fail, so 10 total.
10 is not going to make it.
We're not happy with this. Can I get damage for...
Can I have damage next for trauma?
Madness?
Where is trauma?
It is. Whoa. Trauma doesn't get off so well.
Oh dear, that's unfortunate.
24.
24. 24 damage. Ugh, Trauma is not looking the healthiest lion in the world. Trauma's is still inside the thing, so Trauma can charge in and bring its...
Where's trauma?
Yeah, trauma would have been where Sam started. I'd probably go for this side. Yeah.
Cool.
In the bushes.
Just checking it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm checking the... it's going to make an attack roll.
Mm-hmm.
Which is strength based. I think it's a single attack. How does it feel about a 16 to hit?
Just hits.
Amazing. Oh yeah, we know that already. It takes. Yes, that's right. Cool. 1d10 plus 5 piercing damage. Is that right? Oh no, my mistake. It's 2d6 plus 5 piercing damage, not 1d10. Apologies, first time using this line in combat. 9 plus strength for maths, 13, and non-magical slashing damage.
Non-magical.
Correct.
Okay. It does not get as much grip, so to say, with the non-magical damage.
Not to worry. How far away was Trauma when this began?
You have been riding Trauma consistently.
So that was 5 foot then.
So,
not to worry.
yeah, he either started here or here, depending on whether you got off from Trauma in your first round, but he would have moved not too far.
Totally chill. That does not qualify for a pounce then.
No.
Trauma just like next to the thing.
Okay.
Still inside the sickening radiance. Fortunate. In fact, no, Trauma has lots of movement. Trauma can back the fuck out and stand next to me. I'll call out to the group. I call out to the group and just say that if I feel like it's trapped. I don't think it wants to be doing this. Can we break it free?
Okay. Trauma
Right
is
now it's
going
hurting
to
now.
stand in the bushes. He has cover being behind here or in here. I know it's a 2D map, but imagine it being 3D for a moment.
Look for a controlling crystal or something. I don't know. Or blackmail material.
Okay. As at the end of your turn.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. In that case, the three of them start their turn in set sickening radiance, and they're gonna roll Constitution saving throws.
I am primed for cutting words, by the way.
Noted.
Let me just check if I have previously
The
figured
first con save is a 16.
That would not succeed.
Okay. The second is a 7. The third went on a wild journey and ended up cocked. The third is a 15. None of them make it.
Indeed.
Nice.
Feel free to roll damage.
Would you like one per each one, or just one roll?
You can
for
just
them all?
roll one for all of them.
18.
18. Okay. Maths. Okay. As you see them stand in this light constantly, and one of them, it looks like the light just slowly filters through their form until it evaporates into nothing.
Never mind.
The other two also take that damage. I'm going to use this same mini because it's a little bit easier to see, so I'm going to swap one out. Now that
Possessed.
they get a chance to take their turn, the two remaining ones, Nax, are going to go for you. For a...
Don't tell me.
Would have been a 26, but it is only a 13 because of the disadvantage.
I'm gonna leave that and not do cutting words.
And then a 15 to hit you on the second attack.
That does not hit me.
Okay. Like, Siren has that moment of, do I intercede that one or not? And hesitates too long and is like, oh, good, I didn't need to.
You hesitate and you see Nax kind of dodge out of the way.
Perfect.
Are these like melee attacks?
Yes, they are. So
Right.
they're literally with their arms, which end in these points, trying to have at you. The other one rolls 2 misses as well, none higher than a 12. so they don't actually hit you.
Phenomenal. I'm just stood there being like, oh,
Reaver.
I am going to. So where are the two? The two are like basically directly to the west of me. That's both of them, right?
Yeah.
Can I come round the back of one of them? Is there space? Is that underneath the tree, or
Yes.
is that just a massive bush?
So this is a tree, but you can definitely stand there. It's
Cool.
kind of the edge of where the
Can I
foliage
get
is.
in range with both of them?
Yes.
Sweet. I am going to go for. Just going to go to slash them.
Mm-hmm.
But can I go for something really specific?
Yeah, you can certainly try.
So the previous one that I caught with my bare hands, I managed to grab by the collar
Yes.
that was on them.
Yes.
So I specifically want to target that kind of neck area of them to
Okay.
to see if I can sever anything that's there.
So, yes, you can certainly try that. Considering that you're targeting something this size,
Yep,
that is going to have a relatively high AC.
it is.
I'm going to set it at really difficult,
Okay,
but still possible.
sweet.
You can do it.
Probably at a 23.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Watch me smash it.
Okay. Okay.
Natural 20.
It's 16 plus 10. 26.
Oh, fuck yes.
Okay. Roll me damage first.
Yes. 7 plus 8 plus 1. 16 points of damage.
Okay. You bring down, it's a scythe currently, right?
No.
It's
Tried
a
it.
trident.
I'm trying to push through.
Okay. So you hook it through and you feel a little bit of give. It's still just stuck, but you feel like you nearly snapped it off.
Then I will put the boot into its chest and try and force it now that it's hooked.
Are you trying to shove it?
No, second attack, just to tear
Second
the
attack. Okay.
natural 20.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
So,
good.
30. to hit.
Yeah.
Oddly, that one doesn't hit.
8 and 5. 13 plus 21 points of damage.
Okay. You hook it under, you feel it almost like snap. It's like you can feel the tear and a little bit more give, but it's staying around its neck. Put your boot into it, and you can feel the sudden as something shatters. And although it isn't its turn, so it doesn't necessarily get a chance to react to what has happened just yet,
Yep.
you can see a shift in demeanor as suddenly it seems less focused on Nax.
Okay.
Okay.
And as where is it? Here. As a bonus action, I will turn to Nax and be like, keep standing, and I'll cast Healing Word.
Okay.
Which is 5d4. 4, 5, 6, 10, you gain 13 hit points. Next.
Cool.
Nice.
Thank you.
Now, pretending that this happens at the start of your turn and not the end of your turn because I forgot it, can I also have a Constitution saving throw from you, Reaver, since you were technically invisible at the start of your turn?
Yep.
Or, well, you were invisible when Nex cast the spell last turn.
Constitution saving throw isn't very high, but what I'll do is I will pretty much pass it by adding a d10.
When did you become Lily Allen?
Turns to 23.
Does that make the save, Nex?
So again, sorry, 20.
24.
Yeah, if it's over 20. Yeah, it definitely makes it.
Sweet.
Okay.
And I've used.
On a save, you do not suffer half,
Sick.
as far as I can tell. So,
Where
saving
is
throw
that?
or take damage. No, doesn't mention the half.
Cool.
And
Sweet.
no point of exhaustion either.
Ideal.
As you see this light and it kind of makes you feel squeezy, engulfs you, and with a little bit of extra strength that you gather from people don't really want to know, where there's this blackness that seeps out of you for a moment, keeping it at bay. Nax, it is now your turn. One of them seems to have lost interest in you. It's not preparing itself to attack again next round.
In that case, the other one, mildly perturbed by the audacity of their attack, I'm gonna hurl a bolt of miscellaneous energy at it.
God. Okay.
So I roll a 26 to hit,
Jesus. That hits.
and it does 11 points of cold damage.
Okay.
Just got whacked by a chaotic cold bolt.
Okay. Roll your damage.
Oh, that was the sorry, what did I say? Where's the thing?
26?
26 was to hit, and
Yes.
the damage was the other thing I said, which was 11.
Okay. Apologies, I totally missed that one. As you just hurled this bolt of random energy at it, can I have a d20 roll from you?
Ooh.
3.
3. Okay. Can I have a d100 roll from you?
25.
Okay. As you do so, there's a moment where you're like, yeah, you fuck off. How dare you? And the audacity of it kind of invigorates you. You can cast Magic Missile until you've next had a long rest. As a, what is your charisma modifier again?
3.
As
Oh.
a,
Yes, 3. Yeah.
you can cast Magic Missile as a 3rd level spell, but you're not entirely sure if it's going to hit the designated creature.
Oh, that's very knack. That's extremely knack.
Otherwise, it's just as an action normally.
Yes. No, sorry. I say yes. No, right now. If you were wanting to.
Right now.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put like the bolt, and then all of a sudden, oh, what? Missiles coming out as well? Screw it. Yes.
Okay,
Fuck,
okay.
actually,
There
on
we
a
go.
beach.
Roll me a d8, please.
Five.
5. as you're hurling this energy at it, how fucking dare you? You feel this extra energy coursing through your vein to hurl a bunch of magic missiles out that miraculously also straight go after the initial bolt right into this shapeless creature. Can you roll 3rd level magic missile spell damage for me?
Yeah. Magic missile. So that's 3, 4, 5 dart. Yeah.
5d4s.
So that's 9, and then plus an extra 1 for each one, so that would be 14.
Okay. As you see all of this cold and then just pure magical energy doof, 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 slam right into it. Is there anything else you'd like to do with your turn?
Nope, other than just go,
Okay.
Intriguing.
Eridrian and Denarian.
Still me to go first. I
Yeah, go on.
will. Okay, I'm gonna stand back and get Greggy to jump in. I'd like him
Okay.
to jump on one closest to him.
Greki goes in. Mm-hmm.
Go for noms.
Go for noms. Roll for noms.
That is a 13 to hit.
A 13.
No, wait, no. 17 to hit.
17 hits.
Advantage. Cool. See, he doesn't have this problem. Doing. Oh, this is non-magical though. This does 8, 9, 10, 11 points of damage.
I will be the kind DM that I am. I'm pretty sure that at the level you're at one point in time, your animal's attacks count as magical.
Oh.
I might be misremembering, but can you double check your ranger
Seen
feeds?
this. I haven't seen this anywhere.
No?
I
Maybe I'm
will-
misremembering.
I'll just check after
No,
my turn.
remember that being a thing.
Okay, if you check after your turn, let me know.
Cool.
How much damage does he roll?
11 points.
Okay.
The creature with my hunter's mark on, still alive, right? I think I
It's
can
the one
see
you're
it.
attacking right now.
Ah, perfect. And for my action, I shall continue another attack.
Okay, you're gonna have to walk and flank with Greki, but you can easily do that.
Cool. Oofed. That is a 29 to hit,
Yeah, that definitely hits.
and a 24 to hit.
Also hits.
Doing 16 points of damage in total. Magical damage.
Okay. Okay, this one is starting to look a bit more formless as well. Can you look up for me whether the attack becomes magical or not? It should be in the modified ranger thing on your character sheet. Eridrian.
I would like to run west and make an attack, please.
Okay.
On.
So this one, the one that's closest to you, does seem like it's no longer necessarily aiming at Nax. And then there's one behind it. To be able to reach him, you'd have to walk around Reeford, which is 5. He'd just be out of reach.
You would be able to
I
get
could
him if you run directly at Nax.
Or also, if I use my bonus action dash.
Then you could easily get there.
Cool. I will bonus action dash.
Okay.
Reach the one that looks more threatening, and then I'll
Run
make a swing
over
with my...
and in there.
With my Shadow Blade, that is 12 plus 9 is 21 to hit.
Definitely hits.
And he's surrounded by my friends, so I get sneak attack.
You do.
Oh man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 20 points of psychic damage.
Okay. Fairly reasonable amount still.
Out of 48 and 2d6.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes, Marissa. Animals now have magical attack essentially, so they overcome non-magical.
Yes, I thought about as much.
Dang.
You're welcome. Okay, Eridrian.
He's magical.
No.
That is my movement action and bonus action. That is my turn.
Okay. Finn. You see Eridrian run in there, blade at the side, leaves trailing behind him, but instead hacks in it with this other darkened blade. What would you like to do?
Vin internally goes, "Fuck, that sword's so cool." And then, how bad is Nax? Is he looking? Are you looking hurt or are you looking okay? You're muted.
Few scratches now.
Few scratches, but no one's looking bad at the moment. That's fine. And there's 2 left. Which is the least looking hurt one?
The one over there and the one that still looks like it's threatening Nax is the one that is also the most hurt, and you are in melee with that one.
Perfect. Okay, I will bonus action. I'll action Booming Blade. That is a 19 plus 8, 27.
Mm-hmm.
Plus that. Divine Strike, before I forget, that's 6 points of radiant damage.
Mm-hmm.
Is the radiant damage doing anything more, or is it just seems like just doing the same amount as, you know?
It looks fucking epic as it's splitting apart this sickening greenish light.
Mm-hmm. Fair. I will totally accept it looks fucking epic rather than like any vulnerabilities or anything like that. Style points are where it's at. That's 9 slashing damage.
Okay.
And 11 thunder damage.
Okay. As you cleave the green light in 2, go through it, cleave it straight in twain, as it just kind of drifts apart.
That's awesome. Bonus action. I will move my spiritual weapon up behind it, this giant crow's talon, to right behind that motherfucker right there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if this gets a good roll. 14 plus... I think it's my spell attack. It is my spell attack. So 24.
That hits. Absolutely.
Okay. That's
Are we
10.
killing the one that we
15.
freed?
No.
Cool.
Yes?
10, 15 points of force damage.
Okay, 15 points of force damage. Yep.
And how bad is it looking?
It's still looking fairly okay.
I'll then action surge, take my sword, and then plunge it with an inflict wounds at 4th level.
Okay.
That's gonna be a roll to hit. I don't know if anyone can
Is that a
see.
natural 20?
It's okay, your reaction tells us all we need to know.
It has multiple d20s lined
It's a
up.
natural 20.
That looks like a 14 to me.
I see a 3 personally.
That it was a natural 20. And I will roll damage on inflict wounds unless there's anything that stops me from doing so.
No, go for it. If you hit it, then you can roll the damage.
Okie dokes. I just okay, so
So,
4.
while you do that,
Mm-hmm.
trialing natural 20s, we're treating them as great weapon master rolls. If you roll a 1 or a 2 on your natural 20, then you get a reroll.
Okay.
That's cool. Yes.
If it turns out to be super shit, we change it.
Okay.
More dice rolls.
Where is? Okay, so an inflict wounds at 4th level is 6d10.
Yeah, inflict wounds is great.
So
So that's 12d10.
the 12d10.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. 28 times. No, sorry, 28 for the first one,
Okay. I'm happy to keep
and
track.
then we're rolling, and then roll again.
So
and any-
in total you roll
and-
12 d10s. Any ones or twos, you get to re-roll.
Okay, so there was one 1 there in that 28, which I'll re-roll to up to 2. Okay, so that's 29.
Yep.
And then that was 24 with 1 in there. So I'll re-roll that to 8. Sorry, 2 8. So that would be a 33.
Okay. Is that all of them?
That's all. That's 12 d10. Yes.
So that is 50. That is 62 points of necrotic damage, if my math is correct.
Jesus.
So, Reaver, as you watch the one that you tore the collar off of, Finn plunges the sword in it, and you see this black dot spread from inside of it as it just kind of shrivels in on itself. Didn't know that air could shrivel. Apparently it can. As it kind of just flakes apart into ash. You are out of combat.
Nax, are you okay?
Yeah,
I turn,
waving away the green stuff.
I turn to Sam and I'm like, Syrian, and I'm like, I tried.
Yeah. Can I do 2 insight checks? One on my memories of the creature and how it immediately changed its behavior after Reaver snapped the collar, like to get a vibe for the creature's response to that, especially in line with what I soul sucked.
You can? Yeah, sure. Yeah, go for it.
Cool. And the second one will be on Finn. 16 on the first.
Okay.
Nax, you get 16 HP back.
You definitely, Sam, got a feeling. I mean, initially you got a sense of unhappiness and entrapment. You're smart enough to draw the conclusion that if you get that feeling and then Reaver snapped a collar off it and it suddenly seemed to have a change of heart or direction, that it was definitely, well, most likely being forced into something.
Yep. Was there any sign in there of like intelligence?
Really hard to say since you couldn't really see any facial expressions as such.
Cool.
Since the entire time, even though the light outlined a shape, you never saw anything resembling a face. And considering its moving physique, it's also really hard to get a body posture. You couldn't tell whether it was hunching or not, you know, as a sign of like insecurity or maybe recognition. It's really hard to tell that from the shape that it had.
Second insight check is on Finn, and that is to determine what was going through his mind when he attacked that creature. And my
Sure,
insight
go for it.
roll is a mere 14.
I mean, Finn's not trying to hide anything or anything.
You
Let me
know Finn, to when it comes to protecting his friends,
Mhm.
to sometimes be a bit brash, as in
Yes.
his
Is-
protectiveness can get in the way of his maybe rational thinking.
Okay. Does this feel like an instance of him not really recognizing that the creature might be wishing or willing to cease fighting, and just lost in bloodlust, essentially, of must protect friends. Is that what it seems like? He doesn't seem like he's magically coerced or turning evil.
No. No, it doesn't seem like he's magically cursed or turning evil.
Just check.
But this isn't the Finn corruption arc yet.
I'll pat Finn on the shoulder, and be like,
You okay?
Yeah. Good sword play. You need to work on reading your opponent.
What happened?
You need. I get you were lost in the moment, but you need to realize when your opponent puts down their sword. And I just like pat him.
They had sword arms.
Yeah, at their side, one of them.
Oh.
It's fine.
Other shoulder.
It was dangerous. It was totally.
Okay.
Could have still been trying to kill us.
Yeah, I just. It's the whole fact that it just they popped out. No,
I don't know its intent. I'm just saying for future, just in case, because we're in where we are. I don't want to mess with anything that isn't. Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, no, I get. I just attacked Nax. Just friend. Yeah, sure. I will endeavor to make sure that I'm.
I don't think you did something wrong, Finn. I get it when something heals, you give up, but in a place like this, and I look around, I wouldn't want to hesitate.
Well,
Absolutely.
I mean, hesitation, much like if we go back to the worm situation, like
That was trying to not attack immediately. But once the attack has already happened, you have to defend yourself and the ones you loved as best as possible.
yeah, I mean, just that I would hate if I ever paused or hesitated, and then that would be the moment where
Pause before.
you know a knoll would hurt a friend in a way I can't stop, like or something like that.
Don't blame you for protecting us.
You did the
Next, he's going to go up to Finn and put his arm on the shoulder and say, "It's appreciated." And that necrotic damage, damn, that was dark. And like a truly like respectful, like wow, I didn't know you had it in you kind of way. Genuinely like impressed.
Syrian
What
used
would
up
Max
all
do?
your insights.
Wow.
I don't need to
It
make
feels like he needs to take like a shower for his soul at that point. Just like
Cast
Oh, wow.
prestidigitation on Finn's soul.
I don't use it much after I think the last time I used it, I haven't used it since. So I just wanted it to be over. So yeah, I don't really use that one very often, but it has unfortunately its uses. But anyways, how's everyone else looking? Anyone else got anyone's hurt?
Looking around and beyond, with True Sight still active, am I able to see anything out of sorts?
Yes, actually. Before I forget, in answer to your question, yes. Before I forget, when Nax dropped the radioactive light, everyone that had a level of exhaustion that dispelled together with the spell. You don't keep it.
Oh, what happened to me? Am I at -1 level of exhaustion?
No.
That's unfortunate.
Two things happen. Nax, while you are patting Finn on the shoulder, genuinely impressed, you can start to feel that burning sensation in your finger again. Revert. Not knowing that Nax is feeling that, what you see is this very strange image of this kind of shadowy figure that appears to be looking in the direction of Nax, but it seems from the body language, it seems to be searching. It's like looking in Nax's general direction, but it's looking around him and past him and next to him. Like it's as if it doesn't have a target, so to say.
Okay.
Is there anything you'd like to do immediately?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just like to walk across its line of vision between it and Nax,
Mm-hmm.
and just like turn round to it,
Mm-hmm.
like, and look wherever. Like, is it kind of like persony shaped, or is it like?
It's definitely the silhouette of a person. You can't
Okay.
make out any facial features whatsoever. It's genuinely just a silhouette, but
Okay.
it's certainly a person.
I'll like face the opposite direction and like look around, and then turn around and look at it wherever its eyes would be, and then just kind of like draw my thumb across my throat at it.
Interestingly, as you do so, it's two things that kind of happen simultaneously. You look away searchingly, right? And as you turn around, you see it dissipate. Just for it to reappear immediately after, but very clearly targeting you.
Oh, sweet.
Which coincidentally works out well, as you then very aggressively gesture at it.
Not even aggressively, just like.
Aggressively.
That's the only way to interpret that.
Menacing, but
ca-
not aggressive.
Yeah, casually menacing.
Casual aggression.
Sure, yeah.
Casual
Casual
aggressive.
aggressive.
Yeah, that's Reaper's constant state of being.
Yeah.
As you do so, it immediately pops out of existence, doesn't reappear. You also see around you these kind of tufts of what's almost like dandelion. Yeah, exactly. Like dandelion jellyfish float through the air, kind of golden and orangey in color around here.
Is it daytime or nighttime? I can't remember if it shifts or it stayed nighttime regardless of us sleeping. I can't remember what phase we were in.
You were traveling in daytime.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
We want to take just a quick second just to rest for a sec, or we're just gonna press on.
I'm easy. I mean, nothing can sneak up for us for about an hour, so feel free to rest. I can
Yeah.
pretty much see anything that comes our way.
Okay. It's okay. Let's just hi.
Hi.
Nice plant.
They say nice plant. Take a short rest.
Yeah, sure.
And Marissa, may I cast my new spell during short rest?
You certainly may.
Okay.
So you guys sit down, and it's still, other than the very recent bloodshed, it's a very pleasant environment. You're walking through this very luscious forest. There's a very pleasant breeze that just occasionally gives you this like, oh, what a nice breeze feel. The leaves around here are huge. There's these trees with this huge fruit in the hanging from the branches. It's a very autumn-colored forest that you're walking through, to no one's surprise. And as you sit down, you have that kind of, like, you sit and you hear the crunch of leaves under your butt as you sit down, and the smell of dirt, autumn leaves, that ever so, you know, it's the forest rotting technically, but the nice smell of autumn. Finn, you want to cast your spell?
Do. I will just double, triple check the like if it takes as long as I think it does, which I think it does. So over the hour of just the short rest, I kind of have a very small little bit of fire going, just burning some incense to add to this, add to the kind of atmosphere. Also, just kind of waft it towards where the bloodshed happened. Beautiful scenery, mild bloodshed. So I'll waft that towards there, and I'll just kind of enjoy the relative peace and quiet, and just kind of think back to being on the sea, being in the crow's nest, and thinking about the Bleeding Crow, and the feeling of the sea breeze, and eventually from this, it doesn't say exactly how it manifests, but fluttering down, I would imagine, would be a raven.
As if
As
it
I
was
cast
always
Find Familiar.
there above you in the trees. Flutters down, lands on your shoulder, and does that thing where ravens look out of one eye at you with these strangely intelligent eyes and this long beak. Grips you in the shoulder.
I immediately go into my pack and find, one of my plentiful dried rations that I have, and I'll break a bit off and just go. Food for you.
It picks it out, and you have a bit of like, as it looks at you and full on in your ear goes, ah!
I'll give Daenerys a nudge and be like,
I was wet. Can I walk over,
One of
cast
your
Speak of
friends.
Animals? Can I cast Speak of Animals, sit next to, between the other side of the bird?
Yeah. You can't
Thanks.
speak with animals. Doesn't feel like it has an effect on this animal-looking creature.
Ivridrian's like, that's not native to this place.
it's that fucking
What
crap.
are you doing here?
Weirdly, Eridrian, it's more the opposite. You have a... That shape is not native to the place. Why are you looking like that? But this seems... Roll me an intelligence check.
Marissa,
Yes.
it has the option to be a celestial, fae, or fiend.
Okay.
It's the I'll let the DM decide of which of those it may be.
Just straight
500.
check.
Yes.
18.
Okay. I will eat my words having this new information. You do you're not native to this place. Denarian, you don't quite understand why the spell
What's
doesn't
happening?
take, because it looks like a raven, but you are familiar enough with a similar spell, Eridrian, to know that this very much looks like energy has coalesced from somewhere and taken shape. You maybe use it slightly differently, but it looks like a familiar to you.
My hand up and scratch Trauma's mane, and we just share a chuckle.
I kind of last night started to well, I mean, everyone's got their own little companions these days, so I thought I'd get in on it.
Oh, you did this. I was like so close to sending something at it. I thought it was just another fey creature jumped on you from a tree.
Oh no. No, they're meant to be here. I kind of coalesced them. I don't want to I don't know birds very well. I don't want to say he or she, so I'll just go with they for now.
It doesn't speak bird very well. So,
Well, just
Okay.
like Trauma's not actually a failing lion. I mean, takes one to know one. That's not a raven.
I'm not going to judge an animal at its ability to be an animal, but it doesn't speak bird.
Can I kind of try and whisper to the room, "Does speak bird," and see if it can use mimicry to kind of copy me?
As Denarian's like, doesn't speak bird, It looks over very offended at Denarian and caws very loudly in your direction as if to prove, yes, I can speak bird. And goes, caw, burr, caw.
But like almost like the onomatopoeia of caw. If I've currently got Speak of Animals up, it must just be saying the word caw.
It sounds like a
Like-
raven. It sounds like... So it's weird because it sounds like it but doesn't mean anything to you.
It's like a human saying words.
Yes,
I'm speaking.
exactly, yes.
Or it just picks a random word and just goes, soup!
It's the weirdest sensation because it's making all the appropriate noises.
None of it actually means anything.
Nope.
I'll just nod it and try to pat it on the head.
It lets itself be petted.
All creatures let themselves be petted. This is the way.
Greggy looks very confused.
I give back, yeah.
If Greggy could shake his head back, you get the sense it also goes, ah. Okay, you guys can have a short rest and benefit from it. Whoever wants hit dice and spells and such back can do so.
Give me my
Get my
spell.
accent search.
How long are we
And-
resting for?
If
An hour?
If we can rest an hour for a short rest in the way that we won't get snuck up on the entire time because I have True Sight active. If we want to rest longer,
Magical spell.
I will be unable to see into the ethereal plane after that.
Fair.
Which makes me sad. And I don't get True Sight back, which is good.
Can I spend some of the time learning a spell? Well,
Okay.
all the time learning a spell because I don't want any of the other benefits. But yeah,
Okay, noted.
all the time learning some of the spell and some of the time learning.
Yes.
Trauma and I spent some time like making sure each other's hair is fine, doing our nails / claws, delete as appropriate, and just like having some us time because, you know, I
It's
recognize that
important.
it is important.
Every so often, I'll just look over at, like during the short rest, every so often, I'll just look over towards Sam and Trauma and whatever true form both of them look like.
Wait, Reaver did mention he had True Sight up. I'll make sure I sit with Trauma between us. Privacy.
Trauma to you, Reaver, looks... The shape is very much the same, but it looks a lot more like it's not solid.
Okay.
So it with True
It's full of
Sight,
stars.
yeah, exactly. It's almost like you can stick a hand through it. Is what it looks like.
Okay.
As you have your short rest, what would you like to do? Are you continuing your journey?
Are we going to see your fair lady anytime soon, Rodrian?
I would certainly hope so.
Please lead the way so we don't get distracted.
I shall do my utmost.
Okay.
Help.
I'm just about recovered. So everyone else ready to make a move.
Of course. Do you need a little bit of a top up? I can help.
No, my hour sat at home was all I needed for recovery.
I know. You seemed nervous before, quite awestruck and such. So a bit of courage, and I hand Eridrian the last of the strawberry wine in my water
Aw.
flask.
Oh. That's a good
Wait.
vintage.
Was that strawberry wine this whole time?
Oh shit. We should have aged this. Here.
Thank you very much. It's a long way towards getting us home, I'm sure. Well, guess I better lead on then.
Oh man, I've now got no alcohol in my bag. What is this?
All right, Eridrian, for a start, how is your mental well-being right now?
A little bit excited. Like, we are clearly in autumn forest now. I'm getting a bit kind of impatient and eager to get home.
Okay. can I have a survival or a persuasion check from you, please, with advantage?
You certainly may have a persuasion check. That is. Don't even need to roll twice. That is a natural 20. 28.
Oh, it was destiny.
nice.
Okay. As you are walking and talking, Eridrian paying attention with maybe half an ear, but at the same time mostly looking ahead, just wanting to get there, impatient to finally reach your destination. The rest of you definitely notice Eridrian has got little, ever so slightly quicker pace than usual. And
I
it's
wonder why.
almost like you're walking into twilight at one point. There's daylight and then suddenly twilight is upon you. And you never really notice the transition. It's just suddenly there. And the leaves around you on the trees, many of them seem to ever be lit up as if they've got like a golden trim on the outside that is slightly bioluminescent. None of you, except for Eridrian, see this until Eridrian, you pointed out at them. This beautiful castle, seemingly small, that almost appears suddenly in front of you. It blends so well within the background, but once you look at it, you cannot miss it. It is wrought out of kind of twisted branch and tree shapes, but the colors of it are these kind of pastel purples and pinks. There's bits of orange, there's, I want to say sparkles, but not in a gaudy way, but rather it reflects the light. It glitters in the light of the setting sun. And as you walk suddenly towards this entrance, which was close to you the entire time and you just didn't know that you were going towards it, or did it suddenly appear? You see this huge doorway that seems to be made out of these kind of overarching vines that cross in the middle, just purely golden leaves. Rather than a door, there's a curtain in the entrance. Eridrian, you have reached your destination.
Here we are, as promised.
This came up on us really quickly. Right? Did anybody else get that?
I didn't really see the world go by, so
I've never
like
been
this.
snuck up on by a castle before.
Uh-huh.
One simply has to know when to pay attention. Shall we?
Why didn't... Yeah, sure. Just...
Well, no.
um,
First of all, give us the safety brief, like you gave us before we went into the Feywild. How does one address goddess of autumn or summer or the sea Lee? Like, give us protocol. Do I bow?
Well, you could always offer your soul. That worked well enough for me.
Well, yes, but it's rude to try and get with someone else's significant other. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. However, generally that sort of thinking is reserved for relationships of equals.
Oh, I see. So she offered you her soul. That is very impressive.
How did you pull that off, Virgin?
Oh, no, a gentleman never tells.
Eridrian will kind of cough, clear his throat for a second. I'll lead the way, and I'll
Before you do,
turn on my heel and
Last-
mark off.
wait, before you do, last time we saw Tatiana was when she came to the material plane and after the whole book thing.
In my head, she was massive, right?
She was
Yeah.
huge.
Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
her normal size, Eridrian, or are we expecting?
That's what I was going to ask.
Like,
I'm already halfway to the.
Eridrian!
He's
I mean,
definitely
come on.
ignoring you.
Come on, if she can't change her shape and size, whatever she feels like.
Yeah, but what would you prefer though? Like, I wonder if if you can change your shape and size and stuff like that. Surely at one point all of your furniture was made for you, right?
I wonder how Ethan scratches her back daily.
I wonder if you could change your size, would
What?
you not just make yourself small so you could eat a
Look,
lot
think
of food?
about
but
no,
not a lot?
think about
You
it.
see Eridrian step through this curtain, and it
Oh,
falls
you should go
close
with-
behind him,
See, it's
flutters.
a massive dragon. She has a really long tail.
Yeah, but like,
I need to quickly run off into the wilderness to grab a stick.
There's
I ran off.
plenty of trees nearby. The castle's literally in between trees.
Does
um,
Daenerys
To grab a stick, preferably one with some leaves on,
Okay, yeah,
and come
at this
back.
point,
easy.
I assume that.
Okay, I'm ready.
Ooh, I'll throw away my weapon so it just went in flame and disappears.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, let's go.
Eridrian stepping through the curtain and being followed maybe a minute or so later by the rest of your party.
Still
You see
talking
the-
about.
Very familiar and still like ever-changing hallway that you're now familiar with. It's dimly lit in here, similar to the atmosphere outside. And rather than walls, what you see around you is the area seems to be covered in draperies. There's no straight wall going forward, but rather it's the wall itself almost has these constant like alcoves in it. And as you step in, there's this immediate change in atmosphere where suddenly there's like the constant background noise of hushed people talking to one another. You hear the sound of distant music, sounds like a harp or a flute maybe, but it's not too invasive, it's quite quiet. Looking around you, these draperies, they're very, although non-black, they're very dark in color, and there's this air almost of secrecy and privacy in these hallways where people seem to have their own private groups. And as you step in, all of you immediately draw attention. You see people glance at you and then glance away again as they resume their conversation, clearly having noticed you. You see very clearly Eladrin, but there seems to be a variety of other creatures as well. You see people who appear to have goat legs rather than the legs of humans. You see men and women who appear to be very tree-like, their skin almost similar to bark. You see creatures not too unfamiliar or not too unsimilar to the water nymph that you yourself encountered. Most of them are wearing some form of mask on their face, leaf decoration and ornaments on them, but many of them wear like a half face mask in golden or yellow colors.
Okay.
I would like to close my eyes for a couple of seconds, just kind of absorb the atmosphere, and then as I turn back around to face the party, I would like to be full in persona, wearing my mask, like very much as in like an actor adopting a persona, kind of instantly kind of the hips swivel slightly, the shoulders droop, and it's very kind of seems naturally relaxed, but is very different to how I was a moment ago.
Yeah, you can all see the shift, the sudden in demeanor. And I think by now you know Eridrian well enough that you're all able to note the change and the sudden mask that he has donned.
Can I turn to Reaver and kind of like, were we meant to have masks? You have a mask. Can I borrow it? Like,
Look at me, I'm wearing mine.
but since when did everyone have masks? Like, was there an invite on this? Like,
Syrian has not changed his face.
Oh, my dear friends, relax. You're new, I'm sure it won't matter. And And if it does, then we can get you a mask by the time you leave. And then you'll look like you've been here forever. Shall we?
Honestly, I've never been less relaxed in my life than after you just told me to relax. So, yes, let's.
Reaver is actually going to take his mask out and put it on.
Put on a mask with the one,
The one
white
black-
half,
One
black
white half, one black half with the two eyes in the mouth. And then he's going to take his long kind of draped scarf out of the bag, the one that's like full of holes, and like kind of like tie it back up and like pull it half up. As he pulls it half up, it bursts into flames. And I cast protection from evil and good on myself.
Okay. Noted.
So I've got the kind of like
Immunity.
slow moving kind of like flame scarf that's sort of floaty.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly,
Ben.
we don't identify as either of those things.
Finn.
And I have I did kill Tori, which is what I'm gonna call my Raven, Tori. Kind of look back, and I'll just kind of like rub my eyes a sec and look through Tori's eyes and see if I'm being watched from behind.
Certainly, and the answer is yes. There's no one watching you, obviously, in terms of that they're staring at you. It's all fleeting glances, and they're very much aimed in your direction, but no one is giving you the...
Yeah,
Even
everyone's
though your
being
back's-
very.
Yeah, even though your back is
Yeah.
turned, it's more in passing.
Yeah, it's that I want to look over here. Oh, I'm just stretching my neck.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a
Um,
lot of... So, you guys have seen Eladrin, unfortunately, deceased. You've seen Eridrian. But now, seeing many of them gathered, it really stands out that they are quite a bit taller and more slender in their limbs. Like, their fingers are a lot longer, and many of their gestures are very elegant and smooth. And a lot of them are wearing robes that accentuate this. And there's almost a constant feeling of like, just with the movement of everything in here.
I will also cast protection from good and evil as well,
Okay. Yes,
which is
Reaper.
with a slight warm glow.
Did it? Are they subtly different from Eridrian?
Yes. For a start, you see people. Well, I mean, not all Eradrin look the same, Reaver. You see
Yes,
men
I know,
and
but if
women.
you define like a cyclops by one eye, like
A very much a characteristic that you can start to see is probably a racial trait rather than Eridrian being perfectly manicured, is they all have very slanted eyes and eyebrows. So they're very much more angular in the face than, for example, Daenerys and the elves that you've seen of his kin. Their ears are a lot more pronounced in how pointy they are, and the facial features are a lot more angular.
noted.
As you, Eridrian, step forward, you take a few paces and you have gotten used to this feeling and you're no longer drawn by it. But the rest of you, even taking a few steps, you feel a sudden dizziness come over you, almost as if you're slightly tipsy. It's as if the halls themselves are whispering at you, as if there's voices in the curtains. You feel a sudden urge to go look around the corner, or maybe look at another corner. What secrets are there in this place? It's like the hushed voices become a kind of music, and it's alluring. And it's almost like a siren song that you want to follow. It's that Eridrian is with you that gives you this kind of guiding anchor. But you can imagine losing yourself in the hallways here. can I have religion checks from both Finn and Reaver, please?
Ooh.
Intelligence-based roll, you say? With no modifier, you say? A 2, you say?
Is there anything that spurred this on? Or is it...
Yes.
is there like a hinky feeling that's specific? Or is it...
Yes, although not hinky, negatively hinky.
Mm-hmm. So, like... I'm trying to gauge how invested Reaver would be in whatever's...
There's a certain flow of energy here that weirdly feels familiar.
Okay. Investment. 25.
Okay. Finn, like so many people before you, this is your classic. You have stepped into the world of the Fae, and if it weren't for the fact that you have that focus on Eridrian, you would be lost here. It could be years, it could be minutes. How long was it since you stepped through that curtain?
It's my
You have
protection from
no
evil and good
idea.
help at all.
No.
Oh shit. Okay.
Reaver.
I will take a minute to just like stop, close my eyes, and let that kind of like feeling kind of like perforate.
Maybe
then-
it is because you've seen things a little bit from an outside point of view, if you will. But you can almost feel that there's a weird energy here that is very familiar, in that you can feel that almost life forces itself here are being played with and tugged at, but it doesn't feel maleficent at all. It's more like someone is taking a very natural tapestry and just switching two threads around. But it's like someone has control over how things flow in here.
While I'm at it, can I try and look for like any sort of, because I would imagine that these beings, being as probably long-lived as they are, have quite a substantial end to them. And I want to kind of like look for whispers in the area that aren't necessarily as quiet as the rest. Thinking back to my time in the temple, if this is a place of like fluctuating energy and everything sort of toing and froing, I want to see if there is any of the area that I reign domain in that would be lingering. Because I can imagine anything that goes in the Feywild probably goes with a bang.
Do you have proficiency in insight?
No.
Okay. There's nothing lingering and whispering in the same way that you experienced the first time in Thule.
Okay.
It's a very different atmosphere, but you can feel that people here are somewhat touching upon your domain, and I don't want to say control it, but they're just kind of tugging and pulling it to maybe suit their whims a little bit more. But like I said, it doesn't feel in any way bad or unnatural.
It's more similar to how myself and Luna feel in the material plane.
Yes.
Okay. Sweet.
Now, can I have people that have protection from good or evil? You can exempt yourself from this roll. Rest of the party.
Suck it.
Eridrin, you are of course also exempt.
Merrick's.
Can I have wisdom saving throws, please?
Is this something that my Fey ancestry would provide me advantage on?
Yes, it is indeed. This is
me
very much
also.
something that Fey ancestry
You are
provides you advantage.
Charmed by the wallpaper.
It is gorgeous wallpaper. That's a 10.
Okay.
Oh.
On advantage.
Yeah, with advantage. Good job,
Jesus.
Denarian.
20.
Okay.
Honestly,
I
let's
can't
all
even
be
roll
honest.
a 10 on a natural 1. Like,
Syrian is just a fool for textiles. Just.
What is this dress made of?
Syrian, as you walk around, you can just hear. It's like it's just at the corner of your eye. These whispers that are luring you in to come closer. It's like music, and you can't help but look at it. Eridrian, you very much notice that Syrian is starting to drift into an entirely different direction.
I'll just try and call out to him a couple of times.
What name?
Syrian, this way. Follow my voice.
And Syrian,
the
as
voice-
you hear it, it's like
Is it-
like being awoken from a dream. You have to, like, you ever been up at 3 a.m. at a midnight party and you think you're talking to someone, but actually you've fallen asleep a little bit and then you wake up again? That feeling, you thought you were paying attention the entire time and you have a sudden like, ah.
I am embarrassed. And return, rejoin the group.
Okay. Next, what
But
did
really,
you roll?
Eridrian, what is the wallpaper made from?
A 13.
No idea.
As you move forward, you walk through this hallway, and it seems to be a straight hallway, yet you can't really see the end of it, almost as if there's an ever so slight curvature to it. Walking forward, you've taken a few steps when, Eridrian, you see fluttering up through you, dressed in what looks like a small dress made out of a very small leaf. This pixie, maybe this big, with a very dark skin with these bright golden eyes, that says to you in this really high voice, which I will save Discord from having to translate. My lady's expecting you. Please follow me.
I'll kind of half bow politely and say, lead the way.
I'm just gonna side eye the entire party except Eridrian. Like that kind of like.
As you're being led forward, Eridrian, you find yourself standing in front of a set of doors, which you have fond memories of trying to get through once. They're green, orange, golden, wrought from these varying branches that just make up the structure itself. You know that there are only very few people that go through these doors. Yet, as you're being led forward, this small pixie, you know this has no strength of her own, as she pushes the door open. It looks almost a little bit comical as you see such a tiny creature push what looks like a heavy door. And in front of you, you see a room not necessarily large, but still quite grandiose. It's roughly circular in shape, and there's still this theme of heavy draperies on all of the walls, making the sound seem quieter and more muffled. As well as there are these what look like just trees growing against the wall that spread their branches over the ceiling and that almost seem to make up the ceiling. Hanging off of these are hundreds of small lanterns bathing the room in this very gentle yellow light. All of you are being invited through these doors.
Well, as a
Okay.
vampire, that allows me to enter.
I'm gonna step up first, and I'm just gonna kind of gently lay a hand on the surface of the door as I walk past. Just kind of have a moment of nostalgia and reflection before I enter.
Give him that moment.
And you do so, and it's very soft to the touch, like wood that has been polished over time by many hands touching it. the kind of smooth feeling as you step through. And all of you, as the door closes behind you, there's a soft gust of wind that makes all the lanterns sway for a moment, and you see these specks of light kind of whoosh, whoosh, whoosh dance through the room. And as the door closes behind you, it is not quiet, but there's definitely an air of expectation that you can suddenly feel your stomach and your own heartbeat in your throat, as there's a sense of something is about to happen. Looking forward, you see at the end of the room a small dais, a raised platform, with 2 thrones on it.
Ew.
On the throne to the right, you nearly miss it, for the skin is so dark brown and marked that the figure almost seems to blend in with whatever wooden material the throne is made of. Once noticed, however, it's really hard to look away from this powerful presence. The skin just wooden, but weirdly strong in the impression that it gives off. The hair and beard entirely green and appear to be made out of a variety of leaves, from the broad leaves of oak around the head to the slender, slim leaves of willow in the beard. This man appears to be clad in like a very simple toga, the color of which reminds you of like sunlight on water, that yellow-white reflection. And although this man has a gentle smile on his face, there is no mistaking the amount of raw power you see in there. This is someone who could smile at a sapling, grow a tree in a day, but just as easily break you like a twig if you were to anger them. To their left, you see the slightly more familiar figure. Tall and yet weirdly frail at the same time. Tall but not as tall as to dominate the sky. This dark red hair, interwoven this time with braids that have golden leaves moving through it. Her hair seems to occasionally just move as if a wind blows it backwards. And where her husband has a very calm and powerful presence, looking at Tatiana in this environment is like looking at a storm. She's wearing this very dark red dress that almost has a trail that sits around or drapes around her throne, the leaves of which you can even from a distance hear this crunching sound. You feel, looking at her, almost as if like your breath is taken away and you've taken a battering. Her eyes today seem very yellow to you, Eridrian. And as you step through the door, she smiles, and it is like the room is lit up entirely. Even those of you with protection from good and evil, Fey ancestry, you all feel this tug at your heart inadvertently.
Is the correct form of reverence here is it a bow? Is it to get down on one knee?
It's
Down on
to
both
show
knees?
respect, but however
Yeah.
you wish to do that is very much up to your preferred manner. It's the
Okay.
intent that is the more important thing.
Then I will drop down on one knee and do like a half bow at the waist.
Okay. Finn?
Did Eridrian ever mention a king?
No.
No. Okay, Donald was just like, have I fully fucking missed this? But no, it's cool. Finn will do a, trying to kind of channel a little bit of Sam. Do a well executed but not overly flamboyant bow of respect.
Okay. As you step in and you kind of kneel, Eridrian, you hear this hush fall over the chamber, as Tatiana rises. You see her very long fingers hold the wood of the the armchair. As she steps up, suddenly she seems much taller, like this dominating presence just taking up the entire room. Behold all. And as she speaks, it's like her voice is a whisper that carries for miles. It's this weird combination of talking quietly and yet you couldn't miss it. Eridrian has returned to us.
I'm blushing immediately.
Please, come forward.
I'll climb to my feet as gracefully as I can and step forward.
And as you do so, she gestures at you, and the gesture very clearly tells you to come up onto this platform.
I'll swallow, trying my absolute best to keep my relaxed poker face on, and I'll be as relaxed as I can as I approach.
As you walk forward, she addresses the rest of the room. Eridrian, of the noble house Mertrice, born to the house of Violin, out of Pyre, city of color he has come. Young in years and keen of mind. She watches you walk up the stairs. Further, his feet have travelled, than yours have tread. His eyes have beheld more of this and the mirror plane than yours have seen. He has breathed the seasons of different worlds, and he has tasted of the cup of friendship and known loss with it. And at this, she gives a very small nod to the group of you in the back. He has known the conflicts of the heart when different winds blow, and yet here he stands before us. She turns to you. Kneel. As you do so, she continues. He has found a way, this son of autumn, through grief and pain, through many trials, and through betrayal and loss. Yet his feet strayed true and walked the right path in the end. He has opened a passage between worlds that has been lost for so long, it had been reduced to mere legend for the most. Behold, who was once Galdalan of Violin, known as Eridrian Mertrice. Let him now arise and be known as Eridrian Palantelcontar, Eridrian Farstrider, the she who returned the path. And at her words, these final words, a sudden wind fills the room. All of you take an involuntary step forward as this gale just catches what seem to be pine needles and leaf that must have been somewhere in the room, blows them towards Eridrian until he's almost obscured from sight. And just as suddenly as this gale started, it calms again, with a rustling, the leaves dropping to the floor. And you will see across Eridrian's brow rests a golden circlet, decorated with leaves on it. She holds out a hand towards you and helps you to your feet. Come, she says. And she takes you to a door that sits behind their chairs. And you see her gesture towards one of the pixies, the many pixies that are in the room. And it flutters towards the rest of the group. Comes over to the rest of your small party. Come, come.
I can't. Yeah, sure. bloody impressive.
And you're all led into a smaller room where there's an immediate moment of
Aridrian realizes he's been holding his breath throughout the last minute or so, and does that thing where he doesn't want to make any noise or give out a big sigh, and gradually tries to get his breath back without revealing that he's been holding his breath for ages.
Fair.
Is Tatiana still in the room with us?
no, she's leading Aridrian away, and she's sent a pixie to
Okay.
basically gather the rest of you.
Okay.
Did anyone happen to catch all of that? The name I've got his original name. I got that written down. But what were the titles? I got Aridrian Farstrider. That one sounded particularly impressive. Something about a Palantir.
I will repeat it for you.
I missed all of it, I think.
Honestly, yes. Did you see that dress?
Is the
I need that dress.
is the guy in the chair still there?
Yes, and he is watching as you guys are following this pixie. He is watching you with what looks like a pleasant smile,
He's very handsome.
but there's something about the intensity of his gaze that feels like you might make one wrong move and you are out of this room.
I was gonna
very
ask when Tatiana was, the prodigal son's returned situation. What was his expression, and was he like? Is this like the stepdad who who didn't like the kid? Like,
Oh,
is this
no.
Okay.
You don't have to roll insight to see that that is not even comparable. These people are far removed
Okay.
from such petty squabbles like that.
Okay, but he's got that pleasant customer service smile on us, but he's not angry at us, but he's not doesn't appear to be like sincerely overjoyed about us, and it looks like okay, no, Finn's just tense, but
That is justified.
yeah.
Aridrian, you have a few moments to breathe before the rest of your party would follow into the room. Is there anything you would like to do?
They have been rigging it since we first stepped through that door. I'm just gonna take a couple of seconds, make sure I haven't got any beads of sweat on my forehead, straighten my hair, just sort out my collar, and make sure my shirt's tucked in, and try and settle the old heart rate.
You look totally composed, beaming as someone who's just received their first kiss when the rest of the party walks in. The beaming is hard to miss. As you walk into what looks like a more private audience chamber, it's similar in design in that there's still like a lot of fabrics all around. There's these small lanterns hanging from the ceiling. It really sets a sense of mystique almost. And you see Tatiana sit down on what looks like another throne, and you could have sworn she wore a dark red dress, and yet it seems orange.
Ah, have her eyes changed color?
No, they have not.
Casually swapped into casual attire on the way in.
Is the dress a different color, or is it different cut?
It looks like it's just a different color.
The Feywild is just the magic of the old space commercials. Now my dress is orange.
As you all come in, she gestures at you. Welcome. There are few who have set foot in these chambers, and fewer mortals among them. You can all consider yourself blessed to be counted as Aridrian's companions. she gestures, and again, this almost comical sight of like 4 pixies holding one tray with small bits of food and glasses of wine come flying over, and they're clearly like struggling to hold it up almost as you are offered drink and food.
I
What
look
kind
at
of
it
drink and food?
extremely warily, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks to be
Eridrian's
wine.
words actively flashing back to it. Don't accept food or drink in the Feywild. It's just like Eridrian's voice speaking to me from 7 different angles, repeating and overlapping each other. But it does look like good wine.
The more important question is, does Greggy get food? Brought down to him. Does he have
Does
full
Tori
alcohol?
get food?
If not, he's up on the table.
Oh no.
There is
please.
no table, but if he shows interest, 100%, yes, he will be offered some.
Then both me and Greggy are face full of food.
I'll mage hand, like I'm imagining basically like those really nice cut sandwiches you get at, like afternoon tea. And I'll just kind of mage hand one up, and I'll just kind of lift over to Tori and see how Tori reacts to, like, if he goes and just disappears. I'm like, well, I'm glad I didn't eat that.
No, that does not
Using
happen.
your bird as
You using your
Well,
bird
no,
as
I
a
also
base
want to give Tori some food
Does this
Because-
taste like poison
uh,
to you?
because I don't
I'm
have
gonna be the first
like,
one
poison
with a
today.
cup of wine in my hand.
Okay. Eridrian takes up a cup of wine, and there's some what appear to be different varieties of fruit, but fruit that you have never tasted. It's very sweet. Some of it is more sour, the more like citrus style flavor notes, but none of it rings a bell in terms of that you can really place what it is. Not unpleasant though. And as you all being served small refreshments, so to say, Finn, you would be the first to notice that in one of the corners of the room, you see, also sipping wine, stands what looks like a very out of place and older dwarf.
A dwarf.
Yes,
Ah,
sipping wine.
in like a, I can't believe I'm at this fucking party, or I'm just gonna be a bit of like, or I'm here and but I'm just being a bit of a wallflower, but I'm okay being
Roll me an
here,
insight
or
check.
yeah.
I'm actually just sitting here waiting for the right time to say, and my axe!
It's a 19
Has been
plus
waiting
10,
for
so 29.
centuries.
He looks proper like, whoa.
Oh no.
he
It's just
definitely
a hide.
he definitely walked through this door years ago and has just realized that other people can walk in through has just remembered that there was a door in the room, like, oh.
Yeah. Can I go over to the dwarf?
Nice mug, right?
It's a fucking cool ass mug. Oh,
Thanks.
As you're about to do so, you are halted in your tracks by the sudden sound of Tatiana speaking, and it's such a like an overwhelming presence that regardless of whether you want to or not, you have to stop what you're doing. If you really wish to make your way over, you certainly like you can pause and go over, but there's definitely a stutter, so to say, as she begins to speak. And she addresses Eridrian. Truly, to have the road to Othron to Erthroth open again is of great value for all of us. And not just with public acknowledgement, but also a bit more practically, would I like to reward that. If you would please, hand me the blade that I gave you so long ago.
Pleasure, my lady. And I'll withdraw the blade and hand it over Hilt first.
And as she takes it, you see up her arm this kind of shimmering golden light, and all of you have seen the blade kind of have this sudden storm of leaves around it, but as she's holding it, it's like this power is multiplied tenfold. It's like the storm winds itself are coalescing around the blade. As she holds it for a moment and then looks at you, hands it back, seemingly unchanged. I think this will serve you much better now.
Gratitude.
However, I have not sat idle while I sent you on your quest. Much have I learned about the relationship we once had with the people of Othron to Earthat, and not all of it has been lost. I see some of you have already noticed our guest. May I introduce you to Thorn Magic Weaver? And she gestures over to the dwarf. And to most of you, you'd never notice the guy. He's just standing there in the corner, and the moment your attention is drawn to it, you're having this like, oh, he was here the entire time. That feeling.
What was the name, sorry?
What was
Thorn
the-
Magic Weaver.
Thorn
What was the-
Magic Weaver.
What was the passive perception necessary to see him? I just need to know.
It would be somewhere above a 20.
Perfect, I saw him. That's the important thing.
Okay. And as she addresses him, he steps forward, and he steps like someone who's been under the influence of something for a while. Like, he's definitely taking a bit of a wobbly step. Apparently, not all links of the magic we once had and once shared are lost. Thorn here has been keeping alive a very old craft. Even though magic had left his lands, his family continued practicing it without result and being called for fools. Eridrian, if I am correct, could I see your other sword?
Of course, my lady. And I'll do the same with the other one. Kind of a little bit more, not reluctant, but I guess a bit slower this time.
And as she looks at it, all of you can see very clearly there's a moment, almost a look of disdain on her face, as she says, "Now, although crafted by one of our own, this blade does not really belong in this court. But I think we can rekindle at least some of what was once lost. If you would please, Sir Thorn Magic Weaver." And you see this dwarf step forward, probably like, "Well, yeah, of course, my lady." And he, out of a pouch that hangs on his belt, gets what looks like a fairly large crystal, very white in color. He's like, "Are you sure this is gonna work?" And she gestures at him. It's like, "Of course, my dear. Don't even worry about it." He's like, "All right, of course." And you can see her start the beginnings of some form of incantation. Syrian and Nax, you could both roll me Arcana checks if you want.
Okay. Ooh, dirty 20.
Okay?
16.
Okay. This looks like the start of some form of enchantment, but this is very much clearly a more divine type of magic, and this is well beyond what either of you is capable of casting.
When you say well beyond, do you mean like 2 levels beyond or more?
Who knows?
Who knows?
As she whispers for a moment in what just sounds like, weirdly, the sounds of just the wind itself rustling through leaves. It's as if there's no words, it's just noises. You'll feel a surge of power as she aims it at this crystal, and you see it start to glow. And as it does so, you see this dwarf, much as he might be in some form of daze, also start gesturing, and it's a lot more wooden. There's no elegant motion to it at all. This is very much I hold this crystal here and I aim it there. It's a lot more practical. But whatever it is that he's doing, it's clearly doing something, because as he is moving this crystal around and muttering under his breath and gesturing, you can see the small light that you see in the crystal slowly start to appear on the sword itself. And these runes that you knew were always on it, Eridrian, but never meant anything, are starting to light up. And there's this light blue outline to the blade that it seems to have, almost as if like a line is being drawn around it. And you all feel this gush of wind before the quiet returns. Tatiana looks over at the dwarf. Thank you. Looks at the sword. A pact between an unseelie and the dwarves of old. But it doesn't mean it cannot serve you however you wish to use it. And she hands it back to you, hilt first.
I'll kind of give a half bow in thanks as I take it and say, I'll make sure the blade is used to right the wrongs it once wrought.
I wouldn't expect otherwise. Now do mine. It will never serve you as well as it would perhaps serve other masters, and I wouldn't draw this blade at the same time as the Autumn Gale. Now please. And she moves a hand over you. Much as I am impressed, you smell of Baba. And she moves her hand back. And you are very lucky that one of the conditions to the curse you acquired is divine intervention. Your -1 to saving throws penalty has been removed.
Amazing.
Oh.
Thank you so much.
How? I'm equal parts impressed, as I just want to know how. Did you end up having dealings and leading her to my doorstep?
There's a quiet oops.
Is that I'm presuming that's not a rhetorical question. Is it aimed at anyone in particular?
We've not been given leave to speak.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good, hands are tied.
Encountered Madame Walker along the path here. I thought it would be prudent to perhaps give the rest of my party some experience in navigating the Feywild. Alas, when I realized the threat, it was already a little bit too late.
And yet here you all still stand. And I've even heard that one of you has driven a hard bargain. Gratitude in exchange for freedom. She looks at you, Danarian. That is a
Well,
life debt.
I guess this is my permission to speak. I think we're focusing on the wrong thing. Do you know that there's mind flayers in your land? Do you know that they're killing hundreds of people? That they're attacking, taking over mines, and multiplying? While you stand in your little fancy chair with your pixies and your food?
I elbow him.
Oh my god, done. I love you so much.
Reaver
Oh well, we hardly knew you.
Reaver can't not snicker. Like there's like a behind the mask of
Finn has that expression of, like when you're in like the headmaster's office and your friend just starts talking, and you're like, did he just say that? Oh, he did. Oh, and
Important
just like the
question.
kind of shocked question, shocked look. Ah.
Where's the nearest way out, and what's the most obvious source of total cover?
death.
No
and
is the
death.
answer. She looks at you, Denarian, and although her smile doesn't change, there's something in her tone that just makes your entire like skin crawl and all the hair stand up. As she looks at you smiling, I learned so too. I had the bodies delivered to my doorstep, and I had a chance to look at all of their individual wounds, see all of the missing brains of those who once served me, and walk these halls, those who I called friends. I got a chance to see what happened to those who succumbed to the wounds of their brethren, those who succumbed to the wounds of friends and loved ones because someone had invaded our lands. So yes, I am aware now that it is too late, now that I have seen my own children be murdered by these creatures. But have you not dealt justice?
We did. My condolences for what has happened to your people. I feared that you were like many kings and queens that I have heard stories of, that sit behind walls and castles and care not for their people. But if you say that you are benevolent, then maybe you can help us. I don't think we got them all.
There's a snicker. Not too unlike Reavers. I never used the word benevolent. But don't worry. Now that we know what we're up against, we've sent a dispatch party. Not all of us are lucky enough to have someone offered a second chance.
Denarian's kind of like cowers away about them. But thank you.
Now then, strangely I have a delivery. As she sees you be self-conscious, gestures again, and maybe 3, 4 or so, again, very well-clad, dark-skinned pixies come over, carrying for you a satchel.
Syrian, like, there is a ripple of excitement through him for an instant before he regains composure in the presence of this literally awesome being. Syrian's expression of respect is basically just like almost to like absorb all of it. Syrian has blinked as few times as possible in the presence of Tatiana, and has taken care to memorize every individual sensation that he can whilst in this place. Visual, olfactory, is that the word for nose? I don't know. Hearing, etc., etc. He's just almost overloaded by the majesty.
You're
of
looking
Tatiana.
at her, remembering her yellow amber
They've changed.
eyes that look at you.
Is her dress still yellow?
Still orange.
Orange. I almost caught her there, I think. Power of expectation.
And in your hands is dropped a very soft satchel with, you can feel through it. Definitely there's strings in there. There's a wooden shape in there with strings in the middle.
Syrian, not having been invited to speak, like almost mouth to say something, closes it and just bows respectfully, about as deep, like gauging Eridrian's bow level and then emulating in an effort to neither be under or over, to be appropriate.
As you take this satchel and you bow, once you look back up, her face is a little more serious as she says, "Be careful with that object. It houses an old, but not necessarily benevolent soul. Do not believe everything you hear. Because not all of us are bound by truth."
Again, not having been invited to speak, Syrian just nods, a deep nod, expressing gratitude and acceptance of the word. He has heard.
Now then, Eridrian, is there anything else you would ask of me?
I don't believe so, lady. I believe you have already done far more for us than we deserve. However, I might ask if there is anything we can do to aid you further.
For now, be my representative. We have established a link. Let's make sure this becomes a positive one.
I would be honored.
You're the most experienced, the best suited for the job. If you're not quite sick of the material, I would ask you to stay somewhat longer.
Beginning to grow on me.
She looks at the rest, like, can't imagine why. And it's hard to tell whether she's jesting or not really jesting.
Inside a goddess.
I mean, you can certainly try.
I've wanted nothing more. And amazing, I've not rolled above, except once, above a 6 tonight. That is a 15. So hard to read, goddesses.
It looks like there's almost a gradient to her dress now that ends in this golden color.
I must know her too.
Yes, Syrian.
I want to step up to Eridrian and just whisper very quickly. She asked about fire opals, and she said the dwarves know about them, and there's a dwarf here, and maybe, I don't know, that's just a thing that I wanted to find out more about, but I can't speak to a goddess without permission, so can you ask her? Thanks, bye. I just step back to next to the harp and make sure it's not moved in the 2 seconds I was away from it.
I'll just kind of look incredulously at Syrian.
Shrug, and a being on par with an archfey asked me about it. Do as you will with this request.
Just kind of shake my head in disbelief, turn back to Tatiana and say, forgiveness for Syrian's rudeness. I would not ask myself, but we have been pointed in the or asked to we like Iridrian's slowly going more and more red. Do you, my lady, know anything about opals?
You see her eyebrows just kind of go up a little bit. Why, if it's a dwarven cultural thing, maybe ask their treasurer.
Was that said with a glance towards Thorn Magic Weaver by any chance, or is she talking about someone else?
I don't want to say yes, but the answer isn't no either.
It's the first half of the sentence, but the answer isn't no either, so I assume open to interpretation.
Yes.
Okay. If I might ask, where did you find this one? And I'll look at the dwarf.
He was polite enough to follow the singing in the forest. Don't worry, he will be returned to his family safe and sound. After all, we need craftsmen like him on the material plane if we want to achieve anything like our former relationship.
If you have no further need for him, I would be happy to offer our services as escort if you need someone to take him home.
Well, I was going to give him a more direct route home, but if you are wishing to keep him company for some time, you are welcome to do so.
It might serve to further the friendship between our people.
Then I'm sure he would be delighted to accompany you. She turns to the dwarf. Wouldn't you? And he's like, why? Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Wow, that's fucking okay. Cool.
Okay,
Escort quests for trade relations.
look, and Reaver just like walks towards the area where Tatiana is, like from standing way back. Just okay. Trade routes aside, benevolence aside, weird, creepy violin or lutes aside, harp, liar. It's a string that
liar.
I'm sure they are.
the coconuts from it. This is all great and fantastic, but there is like a relic over where we've came from that we still don't know how to get rid of. Have you, like, I get that probably, and then he kind of like turns to the party and is like, a lot of people have forgotten at this point. But is there any information that you can shine a light on that can help us with this? It's
Surprisingly, your outburst does not seem to have insulted or angered her.
yeah, Reaver's been like twitchy since everybody started being like, and then we'll go and we'll trade with the dwarves. Reaver's like,
Rather, she suddenly seems very young as she looks at you and says, I don't think it can be destroyed.
Is it? It seems like you probably have an issue with what resides where we've been, and I'm assuming where we went was a prison. I've been assuming this entire time it's a key. Am I right?
She folds her hands, like these delicate, long fingers touching, and you can see her long golden fingernails. I think a key is simplifying it. If you are wondering if it is a key to its prison, in a way, it is more like extending the leash. I do not think, well, not without great difficulty and divine powers beyond my own, could it be released from its prison. But it certainly grants it more access.
Are there more of them?
I sent Eridrian to find me a great artifact of power. If I were to know, if I would have known what it was at the time, then I would have searched differently.
We are similar in that respect. And Reaver kind of like looks at the floor.
I don't, well, probably. However, they've remained hidden from my gaze. And I have long searched for openings, or at least artifacts that could provide passage between our realm and yours.
Like, I've got one thing back there. The rest are here that I care about. So, Thule, whatever happens else, can we just, your benevolence and such, I understand, and I've seen the warriors that reside here. Can we just not go there? And Reaver takes off the mask, drops the cloak, everything is just as it is.
Eridrian has opened a passage for us. He achieved what he originally set out to do without knowing it. Because he knew of our intent at heart. I have no use for any type of chaos in my realm. Nor do I desire any artifact that could give me access to that. However,
Insight check?
I think you, out of all people here, should know someone better to ask these questions of.
I do, but you're here right now. It's effort, otherwise. And childish smile versus the more adult Reaver.
Well, entertaining your silly notions is effort on my part.
Like the relaxing of shoulders and the like everything's been clenched up till this point. Well, the one you speak of, we seem to be on talking terms normally, so if there's any more of these artifacts in the future, your lot are going to be over with us, assuming. I want to make sure that you're right, that the chaos doesn't reach here.
Don't worry. We will be more aware to guard our realm this time.
I think a lot of, and I look back at the, like, Sam and stuff like that, and I'm like, I think a few of my party have more questions than I do, but are, and I weirdly look at Syrian, who's been weirdly quiet the entire time, and I'm like, are just waiting for the right moment to ask.
And I am sure that they can find the appropriate parties to ask these questions of. And it's as polite a dismissal as you've heard one, but there's definitely a finality to that tone that says, not my problem.
Disconnect from Discord, it's over.
And
I leave a lot quicker than Eridrian, so Eridrian's left standing there. Just like,
there's a door that's being opened behind you, and it's a different door than the one that you just came through. It's more like a curtain on the wall is being pulled aside, and there was a door behind there the entire time, and it's being opened for you.
I'm going to start heading out, then quickly remember something. Run back to Tatiana, put a stick next to her. This is from Grecki, and then give a small pouch of tea weed. This is from me. Enjoy. And then run away. Oh.
You hear a chuckle behind you, and it's like the sound of water rolling off stones. There's genuine mirth in it. She turns to you, Eridrian, while the rest is leaving. Maybe they still remember some old traditions.
We'll remind them in time. Thank you again for everything. And I'll bow and leave.
As you bow and leave, you look behind you, and suddenly she seems very tall again. It's like her shadow cast by these many lanterns is just spreading over all the walls. Finn.
When she said, "I have no use," in regards to talking about Thule, can I, like, it's trying to tell the truth when a Fae is, let alone an Archfey. Like, yeah, she's probably one of the most competent liars I've ever met. Sorry, Richard. But I was just wanting to make sure that there was no, like, malicious little kind of twitchy grin or a twinkle in the eye of, like, for now.
You can certainly try and roll an insight check.
I just want to try at least. That was almost 14 plus 10 is 24. It was almost an 18 and almost a 20 that it fucking bubbled.
I mean, you just find yourself getting lost looking at her. She seems terrifying and wonderful, and whether that is good or bad, who knows?
And the king hasn't said a single word this
He
entire
hasn't come
time.
with you through into the smaller room.
Okay.
As you step through the doorway, Eridrin, you have been here enough to know that there's plenty of more private chambers, alcoves available, where you can just have a more private gathering.
I will slip off into them at one point, but I'll make sure that I don't, accidentally lose the party, because I know
Okay.
they're kept secret by design.
Uh-huh. Go for it.
Yeah, I'll kind of hang around outside one of the doors, wait until I see a few of the party, and then I'll nod and head in and wait for the rest of them.
And wait for, sorry?
And wait for the rest of the party.
Okay. You guys all see, once you're out of this room, you have this weird, dream-like tugging at you again. But you see Eridrian kind of nip to the side in what you never realized was an entrance or an opening, but through a curtain almost into it seems a much more smaller private chamber. There's candles burning on the sides that cast a very soft glow in the entire area.
Once we're inside this room, I'll adopt my usual kind of demeanor. I'll drop the kind of extreme casual posture.
Okay.
Offer him a drink. That seemed, well, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you very much.
That was a lot of new titles, and I'm not sure what most of it meant, which is impressive.
It was even more dramatic than I hoped for.
Oh, I mean, that was in front of everybody. Everyone knows you're amazing, except for us, who knows the truth.
The truth, of course, that I am fantastic instead of amazing.
As in, based on a fantasy? Absolutely. I'm messing with you. I'm genuinely happy that you've received the adoration and adulations that you properly deserve.
And a fancy headpiece.
Oh, indeed. Does it do magic?
Oh, yes, I haven't had a chance to have a look at this yet.
If you get a chance to have a casual chat with your lady, do present my apologies for the fact that Madame Walker was in the area. She seemed to express mild displeasure at the proximity.
I can't see why. She was lovely.
Yes,
Much
exactly.
perhaps, but not directed at us. I wouldn't think that was our fault in any way.
I've said what I said. If you could pass on the message.
By the way, just so you're aware, trailing after you this entire time, still with a glass of wine in hand, it's been your dwarven friend.
Quick
Thorn.
query, DM.
Mm-hmm.
It was the treasurer that I got told to go meet, right? It was like a collector of some sort.
You were
Different
told
guy?
yes, you were told to specifically go meet a, top of my head, collector of historical goods.
Ah, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was gonna.
Mm-hmm.
That was from the Thieves Guild.
Yes.
Yeah.
So slightly different guilds,
Yeah,
slightly
yeah,
different
yeah.
school.
Guild's different. Yeah.
As you're all gathered in this room, you hear a excuse me?
You must be Master Thorn.
No.
Thorn.
Not
No,
from
different.
him.
Yeah, no.
Oh my
Coming
God.
from outside the room.
Look around.
Outside the room.
Yes.
In which case, I'll take point and pull back the curtain and greet our visitor.
You see standing there, what looks very much like a fawn, very much the human-like, but strangely hitting the uncanny valley a little bit. Like the nose isn't quite right. The eyes, Eladrin eyes are sharp, but his eyes are almost vertical. He's got these round ears, walks on goat-like legs. I was told to bring you this. And holds in his hand what looks like a very small package of sort. And it has Tatiana's hand all over it. Like, it's delicate. It's got a golden ribbon around it. The sound it makes when he hands it over is that of rustling leaves.
Just because I am suspicious by nature, and not everything looks to be what it seems, these kinds of things can be faked.
Yes.
Does the guy seem either malicious in any way or bewitched in any way?
You can roll me an insight check.
Thank you. Oh. 5 plus 6, 11.
Oh, buddy, I feel you.
I mean, he talks fairly lucid. Make of that what you will.
Thank you very much, friend. My apologies. When did you speak to her?
He looks up at you and he's almost bowing in your direction. He's like, just now, she bade me go after you. It is for your journey back.
Friend, there's no need to be so tense. Join us for a drink.
Truly.
Truly. And I'll place a hand on his shoulder and guide him to the room with us.
And he looks like he's just met a rock star. Like, proper whoa. As the rest of you see Eridrian lead this kind of human-like, but just very much not human creature into the room.
On a scale of like person to Pan's Labyrinth, where does he meet? Where does he?
Pan's
Yeah.
Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Very
okay,
Pan's Labyrinth.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Syrian is making a note to see how well he can do reverse jointed knees later.
I say Pan's Labyrinth. That being said, there's no initial "I'm gonna eat you" that you get in Pan's Labyrinth.
But
yeah.
more goat than person.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. The very, very kind of uncanny valley hitting phase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This creature walks in, tall and looking proper like.
I just want to put an arm around his shoulders, guide him into the room, and just say, "Come, friend, we have travelled far and had poor company for most of the journey. Tell us, what news of the Fae? Perhaps we can trade some stories."
Certainly. Before I forget, and he hands you the package. Please, Our Lady wouldn't forgive me if I lost it or forgot.
Of course. You can consider your duty successfully accomplished. Come,
Thank you.
join us for a drink.
And he walks with you into the room. And as he does so, as you invite him to tell stories, Syrian, you, focusing on the dwarf, about to ask them a question, seeing this new creature come into the room, you hear a voice in your head only.
Oh no.
Hello? 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 Hello?
Hi. Hello? Yes, can you hear me?
Are you... Who are you? Are you my new master?
Well, master's a strong word. Let's start with names. What's yours? Can I have yours?
Of course. My name.
Take a while if
I
you
don't-
haven't got one prepared.
I think I can remember my name.
Ah. You've been a harp for a long time? A liar, sorry.
I'm a liar. Lyra! My name is Lyra. And on that
Insight
note,
check.
we will end tonight's session.
Oh no! You triggered the fate trap card.
No. That sudden
Um,
change of tone with my
I
name is
loved it.
Lyra. I'm suddenly terrified.